Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is a moment of silence. I'd like to send this moment of silence for Abigail Thomas, who tragically lost her life on October 5th on Cedar Road in Homer, Glen, and for the innocent lives recently lost by the heinous acts of evil in Israel. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Mason.
Present.
Trustee Reinders. Present. Trustee McNaughton.
Present.
Trustee Consolino. Present. Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Stylen.
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Troicki.
Present. Next is community recognition. I don't think we have any tonight. Any of the trustees? Amendments to the agenda, are there any?
I do.
Trustee Consolino?
Okay. I would like to move from consent agenda K2 to L1. I would also like to move L10 to L2. I would also like to move L12 to L3. And then I would like to move L6 to L4. And L7 to L5.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders? Madam Clerk, can you please call, is there any discussion on that?
I just want to say on K2 to L1, there is no second or discussion on that, but the rest of them would fall into that category.
I'm not in favor of moving the entire agenda around. I don't understand the purpose, but it's up to the trustees. That's what they so choose to do. Any more discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino. Aye. Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
No.
Trustee McNaughton.
No.
Motion carries. Can we make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialco, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Consolino? Any further discussion?
What I would like to say, because we ran into a little snafu at this time, is anytime once this is approved, the agenda is approved, it would take a 2/3 majority to then change the agenda. It's not that the agenda cannot be changed. So I want to make that clear with everybody. If somebody wants to look it up, I'm more than free to do that. But that is the case. So that's the only comment I wanted to make. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
No.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the minutes, October 3rd, 2023, special village board meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Consolino, Trustee Mason, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Trustee Consolino, do you have any comments?
No, good job, Gio.
Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Stylen?
No.
Trustee Fialco?
None.
Trustee Reinders? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Moving on to public comment. First is Jay Rohde.
Mayor, trustees, residents, I'd like to address the old business and the new business of the last meeting. I don't know if I should be upset or if I should be flattered. I was made official village business during the meeting last time by Curtis Mason, the trustee. He made allegations about my standing with the Republican Party here in Homer Township. allegations that were false, going off of old bylaws. You see, I am the vice chair. That's an appointed position, Kurt. You could have called me, but of course, like the mayor says, you can only put out so many olive branches when a person hands them back on fire. So, you know, I don't know what to say about that, but what really concerns me the most about that is that you've said numerous times that we do not have any ideology. That's the same. So someone would say, what does that mean? Well, I can't tell you what Curtis's ideology is, but I can tell you what mine is. First off, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I recognize Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Okay? I believe that we should hold tight to the Constitution. I believe in the First and the Second Amendment. I believe that we are overtaxed in the state of Illinois. It trickles down to our local community. And that we, as the people of our community, should look at fiscal responsibility, no matter where it's coming from. Okay, that's part of my ideology. I'm also a person that believes in the sanctity of marriage. I have almost been married to my wife for 24 years. They've been great. Okay? I love my kids unconditionally. That's part of my ideology, Kurt. Another thing that's part of my ideology is defending children. When they have explicit materials that they have access to on a regular basis, whether it's at the schools, whether it's at the libraries, if we can't protect the youth in our community, then what the hell are we doing? Okay? And I believe in the GOP. I believe in being a conservative. Now, you know what my ideology is. Now, if Kurt doesn't align with those, I don't know what to tell you guys, but Kurt, you said it. I did, man. Thank you.
Dave Medema.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. I've got a lot to cover and little time to do it, so hold on. It was said in an open meeting here that I heard that the Acquire Township Highway Department does not do work in the village of Lockport, or city of Lockport, village of Homer Glen, village of New Lenox, or our little area in New Lenox, or in Lamont Township. That would be correct. We don't, by state statute, without an intergovernmental agreement, do any work in any municipality, only in the unincorporated areas. Now, you get levied, and for easy sake, I'm just going to use the $1,000 number. Everybody in the township as a whole, gets levied. Let's say it's $1,000. 40% of that $1,000 goes back to the municipalities. That leaves us an operating expense of the six left over. Okay? A lot of people say, why are we paying to the Homer Township Road District when we don't get no work from them? But you do. When we work in Lockport Heights, it's unincorporated. You get nothing out of that. We fix the road over there, you get nothing out of it. But if we fix Bruce and Gowder, like we did this year, new culverts, new intersection, all the way to the line in all four directions, that is utilized by Lockport residents, New Lenox residents, Homer Glen residents, almost no unincorporated residents. That's where those levy dollars go. Arterial roads that are used by everybody. That's why everybody gets taxed in the township as a whole. And when you get taxed, again, 40% of it goes back. We use the rest to do those. Okay? Doing Meter Road and Gowder and Bruce Road this year, that's like $450,000. That's not a whole lot of road. Okay? But nobody had to pay any extra to get that done. And the people that live in the unincorporated areas, almost virtually none of them will benefit from that. There's a little stretch on Lindsay Lane, about 12 houses that's unincorporated, that's it. The rest of it will be utilized by incorporated areas. That's how it works, saying it as quick as I can. The only other thing that I have to say right now is the township, the Homer Township Road District. It's a little insulting when people want to do away with the road district, the township.
30 seconds.
We've worked for this village for the past 20 years, taking care of your roads and then when it was ended, we gave you $8 million in assets, and we ended up having to rebuild so we could take care of unincorporated residents. I think a little more appreciation should be at hand here. Thank you.
Councilman Marla?
Hello, Mayor, call board. It's been a while since I got up here to speak. I'm talking today on item 12, with this resolution that you guys want to put forward. I think it's a little naive to think that it just can happen overnight. Me being the assessor over at the township takes a little more work than people realize. I have 16,000 parcels I have to deal with on a yearly basis to make assessments for. And, you know, when Glen became an inception and wanted to be a community, we fought to fight off other governments, and sometimes I think we take those steps back. Because I feel like we're giving our township to another entity of government that's going to control the levies that we control with our elected officials. You know, it seems like a personal vendetta sometimes. I think it's wrong. I don't agree with it. I think there's better options. You know, I stood on that side of the table and I fought LOCCOR with our wastewater. I think sitting on this side of the table, I would fight Will County to take over the township. Because I have a feeling it's not going to be a one-time levy. I think it's going to be 3 times the levy that I do now for what I do in my assessor's office. And it's naive not to know that that could happen. Okay? I sat down with the supervisor of assessment today. He happens to be a Homer resident. And we talked about it. And what would happen to the assessor's office. And what would happen to the 5 employees that I employ right now. And he would take them over. And he said to me, he said, if Illinois dissolved every single township in Illinois, he said, I would have to take my levy for my county and make it 3 times of what it is now. I just want you to think about that when you guys think about the small $75 we put on your tax bill to run a township. $75. When we got a high school that wants to put a $130 million renovation into a school, which only houses 1,000 students, let's do that ratio. Okay? Or all the other schools in the area that are levying you guys 70% of your tax bill. Let's talk about those. But no, instead we want to pick on a little bit. I don't think it's fair. And that's all I have to say.
Steve Dallas?
I'm the township supervisor, and since the last election, it's been like bad blood with the village. Before the election, the township and the village worked perfectly. After the election, not so good, actually terrible. But you know what? I'm one of the people that believes in respecting the office, respecting the trustees that got it. So I try to go out of my way to be okay, be nice, not start anything. You know, when the parade went away, I didn't go bananas. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that I could say. But the bottom line is, there was always a problem since the last election. Well now, when Hadley Road issue came up, the township had no idea that the village was going to take it because evidently the village took it on the same, wanted to take it the same night that we announced we were going to do it. Brent Porfilio, Carmen Morella, and myself, we looked at the road. We said we could take care of that road, leave it alone, and not raise any taxes. So that ticked off the village. So now they're trying to get rid of the township. They want to eliminate the township, which is probably the most foolish thing that ever happened. They want to be unchecked with Hadley Road and other things. If it happens there, it'll happen by you. It's not just going to happen in one place. It's going to come again. So when I say the township will stick up for Hadley Road, the township will. We will sue the village to get Hadley Road if the village does something negative to the people that live there. So I have a feeling we're going to be in a lot of litigation. Now, the last thing I want to say is something that I really didn't ever think I would ever have to do. But ever since this election, it's been nothing happened in the village for the village of Homer Glen, only attacks at the township. So with that, I'm initiating a recall of the mayor. We're going out and we're going to be getting petitions and we're going to try to eliminate the mayor of Homer Glen before there's more damage. And if need be, we'll go after the board too. With that, God bless everybody.
Thank you. Michael Smith?
Good evening. Once again here to talk about Acquire Hadl Road, but I thought I'd start by reading the first sentence of the Illinois Constitution, which is a prayer. We, the people of the United States, we the people of the state of Illinois, grateful to Almighty God for the civil, political, and religious liberty which He has permitted us to enjoy, are seeking His blessing upon our endeavors. I offer the same prayer to the one true, living, triune God, as you, our representatives, are taking care of endeavors that are near and dear to me and many of the other residents, specifically the Acquire Hadl Road, and that He grant you wisdom tonight in your decision in your operations. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott. Scott Berkelin? Is that right?
Yep.
Regarding lot 4 to 5 Menards, do you want to speak now or?
Will there be an opportunity when the agenda item comes up, Mayor? Because
Yes.
the next, yeah, there were 3 of us for that.
Okay, Jeff Miller and Mark Daniel as well.
Yes, thank you.
Brent Portfolio?
Thanks for letting me speak. I wanted to first go through the metrics of the road district because there's been a lot of false statements that have been made over the last few meetings about everybody who thinks they know everything about the road district when they don't. The mileage of the road district is 19.9 miles. The MFT printout that the mayor quoted of 18.0 miles does not agree with the new county map, so it's incorrect. It's 19.9. We're soliciting the county to get an update to that so we get more MFT money. The expenses of the township are based on the tax levies. 1.125 million was the road and bridge levy, was last year. 250,000 was the equipment and building levy. I don't see all that money. Of that 1.3 million, I only get about 650,000 of it because there's a half share that goes back to the municipalities and for their road districts and public works to spend. So I bounce around 700,000 a year for my operating budget, and if you divide that by 20 miles, you'll get the dollars per mile that I spend. It certainly isn't 60,000, it's closer to 35 to 40,000 a mile. Staff, I have 2 staff that work with me. They each cover about 10 miles for maintenance. At the beginning of my term, just for metrics of the road district when it was the entire village and the unincorporated, there was 15 staff that included Mr. DeVito. So that's about a little over 10 miles per person. So that's about the metric you want to keep for the public works. So when Brent Woods talks about wanting more staff, that's something that he goes by as a benchmark, I would think. Management, there's been ridiculous statements about me being paid $15,000 a year, according to some document from years ago from the old Homer Township supervisor. I get a salary of $60,000. That's less than both of my staff members, and it's less than most of the staff of the public works. And for that $60,000, it's a net change of 0 for the taxpayers because this year alone, I provided $80,000 in engineering, construction, inspection services at no cost. So we did not have to hire an engineering company to do that. So the net profit of $15,000 to the taxpayers of the township. I want to talk about, expand a little bit on what Dave Medema talked about. You say we don't do any work in Lockport. The collector and arterial roads that carry people to and from Lockport and Homer Glen, 163rd Street, Gallagher, Bruce, Meter, Chicago, Bloomington, Farrell, among other ones, have been recently improved. That's what you get for your money. And lastly, I want to talk about the dissolving of the township. Something you got to remember is that the people that are in unincorporated Homer Township don't want to annex into the village. They don't want the regulation. They don't want the additional taxes. So quit being a bully and trying to take over them when they don't want to go in. If they wanted to be in the village, they would have annexed into it over the last 20 years, which they haven't. That's all I got. Thank you.
Frank Bujan.
My birthday was Monday, I was 81.
Happy birthday.
It's nice to see you, Christy, board members, along with the rest of you guys, audience, or wherever you guys are, village members. We went through that stuff years ago on in the park about the township and the village. They're both necessary, so I think you're wasting spending a lot of wheels and fights on this stuff. But Wayne McGrath was a good friend of mine. He's passed the sheriff's father-in-law. He was in charge of the township for many years. Danny McLaughlin, I know, to the mayor of Orland Park, and they worked it out. I was unincorporated in Willow West, a place called Willow West, from 1973 to 1993. When it was in excess in the village, I wanted to charge $8,000 for lights. So I said, I'm not going to vote for it. But then Wayne told me, they're not going to next you. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. But anyway, I didn't come in for that, and I came in for a couple other things. One thing is, two different things, really, suicide and golf, and they're really different, but they're not that different. I want to make a golf course with Rosie's help, where she's in charge of the department. This was a golf course, it can be a golf course again, just like the guy that owned it. I forget what the name was. One of my friends, the priest, he comes over from Crestwood, called a group of senior citizens called We'll Get There When We Get There, and they used to come out to play golf here. I forget the guy's name on the course, but I looked at all the books before, and he had a big problem with it. Was not making enough money on golf. He was selling too much food. I'm a CPA for many years from Notre Dame. I like being a name dropper because it was hard to get in, hard to pass. But when CPA in 1975. So a golf course is about 90% gross profit. And you can also get scholarships for kids to go to college. There's all kinds of good things to do. So Roy's going to work there in the next couple of years. And there's some engineers can do the legwork. Billy Casper has an organization, the Bills Golf Course. They charge a lot of money. I think I can build it with Rosie's help. And the gentleman I met here tonight, my brother-in-law is a builder. He can go to architect school. He learned on the streets by doing stuff. The suicide thing is real important to me because I lost a cousin, my cousin Margie, 1976. She married this nice young guy from Fort Lee, Virginia, and he was an Army guy, he was an undercover in Los Angeles for drug enforcement. And Margie, our family has a lot of depression, a lot of mental illness with depression, which
30 seconds.
I'll need another 2 minutes. Come on, take it now. Go for 30 seconds first.
Is there a motion to grant Mr. Bujan an additional 3 minutes under public comment? Trustee Consolino, is there a second? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Motion carries.
Thank you, folks.
Trustee Reiner? Sorry. Trustee Reiner? Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So Margie was my cousin, and she got married in 1975 or 76. The guy swept her off her feet. They moved from Virginia to Los Angeles. She was kind of in a little trouble with drinking. She was trying to get pregnant. My mom called up one day and said, Margie's dead. And I said, well, a car accident? No, she shot herself. So I'm very anti-gun, and I'm not anti-gun for hunting, but handguns have one purpose, shoot other people. So we banned firecrackers in Homer, Glen. We don't ban handguns. And it's controversial, National Rifle Association and all that. But I suggest that Christie put it on the agenda for the next couple of months to have a even the trustees. And I know Dan is a policeman. And my friend Vince Gavin, which they did his bodyguard, first night on the job, he killed 3 people down Maxwell Street. Policemen have to have guns. I don't have to have a gun in my house, somebody's gonna threaten me. I don't want guns around, too many kids get killed with them. Margie killed herself with the gun. If the gun wasn't there, I'm convinced she wouldn't have been dead today. But 30,000 suicides a year, always my gun. People would have killed themselves because he was a gun, otherwise he was killed or something else like that. So anyway, I'd like you, but I suggested that before when the Mrs. America girl, I forget her name, Renee or whatever her name is, and Roger, they were here last year, but I want somebody to take up the gun for me, or I don't know, I have to put a proposal, put a vote. You could have a referendum if you want, but I know I've already talked to one of my friends, I forget his name too, because I have a lot in my mind at 81 years old. I forget names sometimes, but not for long. I know my name is most important to me. But anyway, I think guns have one purpose, kill people. I fired guns at Fort Riley, Kansas. It was one of the low points in my life. I had a nervous breakdown because of what happened at Fort Riley, Kansas. I'm suing the government today for harassment. I had a sergeant who was on my case 24/7. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to beat him up. Couldn't do either. I prayed. I'm Catholic. Somebody mentioned me a Christian. I'm a Catholic, not just a Christian. St. Killian's, Brother Rice, Notre Dame. So Brother Rice meeting's there with a bunch of guys. We're going to go call it next year, like Notre Dame's in my court.
30 seconds.
Okay. So anyway, I'd like to just say there's a walk this Saturday in Montrose Harbor against suicide. It's all survivors of suicide. So if anybody can make it down, I don't know if I can make it myself, but it's in Montrose Harbor, there are 8,000 people. They raise the awareness because you can't stop suicide. Somebody can't talk to you about it, you know. And psychiatrists are supposed to turn people in that are suicidal, but they don't do a real good job of it. But just pray for all those people that are going through mental health stress now. One other comment, the hospital on there is a terrible hospital for mental health. I've been there many times. And I broke my neck about 7 months ago, or a year ago, but not permanently. And I was in the hospital.
Time has expired.
Okay, well, this is one thing I want to say. Enough of that. I was under, they didn't do a urine analysis. So the stupid nurse says to me, you gotta go right now for the 19 people who got to urinate. They said, they can't go right now. We're gonna catheterize you. I said, I'm not gonna catheterize. 19 people held me down, catheterized, and that's against the law. I'm suing those motherfuckers. Oh. Excuse me. It's terrible.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
My
Bouchon.
language, but the lady was they bled out, passed out for something. They got to investigate Silver Oak. Mental health.
Mr. Bouchon, your time has expired. Thank you.
Hope I didn't offend
Okay, that would
anybody.
end public comment.
Little swearing.
All right, next we're moving on to reports and communications from president and other officers. Interim village manager Joe Baber, do you have anything?
Thank you. Just quickly, work's begun on the new parking out here in Heritage Park. Some of the lights have been delivered, locates have occurred, and we're going to see some real movement starting next week. Concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to trustees, trustee McNaughton,
No, ma'am.
trustee Mason.
Yes, ma'am. There's been a rash of accidents, so I wanted to address that first. But if everybody would please slow down. Don't text, don't use your phone while you're driving unless it's hands-free. We've had a loss of life, we've had multiple accidents in the last week or so, and that was going to be my report. But I want to address Jay Rohde's comments. He keeps talking about sending an olive branch, Jay. Well, just give me a copy of the bylaws, the current ones, without the dates being changed. And I'll take a look at that, and I'll take a look at that. And I will let you know. You know, you come here, come to the village, you
Excuse me,
say a lot.
Mr. Rhodey, out of respect for trustee Mason, would you please let him finish his comment? He let you speak, you can just let him do the same.
You come here, you say a lot, you assume that we're similar, and we may have some similarities. You've been married 24 years, I've been married 38. You talk about children, I have 5 children. I have 2 children and 5 grandchildren. I agree with you about taxation and, you know, having the military and appreciating this country and the village that I live in. So there may be some, but that's ideology is not always the same as what we stand for. I don't dress like a woman. I don't attack women. I don't attack children. There's been too many things that have been said. This is one of the reasons that I ran for this office, was because I see the township and the HTRO infiltrating the village, and I don't see why the people should have to pay for two public bodies, especially when they make 3 times the amount of money than this board. I'm doing it for the good of the people. Bottom line, the elected officials in the township, because I see some scrawls out there, make 3 times, 4 times, depending on who we're looking at. The elected officials here do it because we do it for the people. I appreciate our elderly, our military, our residents, the police, and our vets. These are the things that I stand for. So I just wanted to address that because I didn't have a chance to do that before because you seemed to leave early after your public comment. I'll drop that now and I'll wait for old business.
Thank you, Trustee Lacy. Trustee Stein?
Nice, thank you. I didn't get to report a couple weeks ago. I did attend the IML conference in Chicago, and I am looking forward to sharing some of the handouts and information I gathered from that. And as far as the committee, for the Community Development Committee, we will be meeting tomorrow. If anyone would like to join us, it's here at 7 o'clock in the community room. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Stein. Trustee Consolino?
Reporting for the Environment Committee, we had a beautiful day last Saturday for our Hike and Hall Lands Day cleanup at Culver Park. We had approximately 19 people turn out for the cleanup. Thank you to everyone who attended and to our staff for their assistance. Yesterday, the committee held their meeting outside at Lamers Park, and we enjoyed the pond and several new trees that we planted. We had 2 chinkapin oaks and 1 shingle oak. My committee members and I very much look forward to the continued additions we can contribute to the beauty and rural character of our parks in Homer Glen. Again, if anyone has a passion or expressed interest in promoting and protecting our environment, we are always looking to add members. Now, for tonight's agenda items. Been really good for a long time, so you all might want to stretch. When it comes to the Hadley Road project, I looked back into why this project keeps coming back like a bad penny. Started in 2016 and again in 2019, and each time the village of Homer Glen apparently ignored it. County and state plans for the Hadley Parker Road have been in works for years. Bill County 2-30 was generated to benefit lobbyists and contractors who donated to the state and county elected officials. Imagine that. These donations then result in patronage jobs and our local government awarding contracts to connected companies. They don't create these projects to maintain or update our infrastructure, and they clearly do not care about the residents of Homer Glen that live alongside the road in question. Another reason why Will County is likely pushing this project forward again is due to the loss of their plan for the Bruce Road SRA, which is now a stretch of road from Bruce Road to 159th Street. This uses Galver Road instead of the much more costly road the county originally proposed to build. The county, for their own personal reasons, again, not for the benefit of the residents, is still looking for an alternate route going east, alternate to I-80 and 159th Street. Will County wants to widen the road and inflate their costs. Let me state for the record, I am not in support of Will County continuing to have control of the Hadley Parker Road, or IDOT calling the shots. If we take over jurisdiction of this road, and if we touch any state motor fuel tax funds for that road, we will have to abide by IDOT standards and projection for that road. Using those funds will defeat the purpose of us being able to protect the road with the desired wishes of the residents surrounding it. Without having, excuse me, I'm trying to do this off the computer. Without having any completed studies of our own or from Will County, and without any facts about the true costs involved, how can anyone on this board make an educated and fiscally responsible decision? I've asked repeatedly for the mayor's strategy to take over this road. I've asked for the legal analysis. I've asked for the costs and how the hell the village will pay for this. All I've received is a copy of the workshop and the recording of last week's workshop, which was held conveniently while I was overseas. Now, maybe the mayor and her slate have some grand plan that the rest of us are not privy to. A greedy, idiotic plan that incorporates the mayor's personal vendetta and her political plan to take over Homer Township. Maybe they believe that by taking over the township, she will be able to steal the profits of the taxes levied upon us by Homer Township. The delusional part about that kind of hypothesis is that the township runs on a little over $1 million for 40,000 residents. I think approximately 40% do not live in the village of Homer Glen. The Homer Township Road District Commissioner's tax levy is approximately $1.5 million. Out of that $1.5 million, the village of Homer Glen gets what's called a half share back, and that's about 60% of that levy. Lockport, New Lenox, and Lamont get their half shares too. And that's out of the $1.5 million. So at the end of the day, the mayor is looking at a hypothetical $700,000 from the road levy and a little over $1 million from the actual township funds before actually acquiring the township, its road district, or its assets. The alleged costs for this road and the maintenance that Will County and the state of Illinois are pushing us for are allegedly anywhere from $2 million to $20 million. We're not quite sure because, well, nobody has been able to produce any real comprehensive study. I'd also like to point out that one of our former mayors spoke up at last week's workshop demanding that we take the road now and that we don't need a feasibility study. Same man sold our water utilities for $1 million with the same exact idiot mentality. And the result is that quick rash decision by that mayor resulted in our residents being permanently raped with our water bills. Now, I'm not a math genius, but the math doesn't add up with this idea, even if the mayor, or by some strange twist of fate, she wins her dream of stealing the coffers from Homer Township. And even if she wins that pipe dream, it will take years to actually utilize any of those funds, recreate the services provided by the township, and hire more staff again to do the same duties. Ultimately, how much more money would there be to spare out of that money from the township? Not much. Unless the mayor and her slate raise our taxes. I think it's really important to point out that currently our Public Works Department that would be overseeing the road currently runs on a $4+ million operation, and it survives on a $1.5 million tax levy. We, the village, have to subsidize the public works from other funds because our former village board, who fought for the road district transfer, never bothered to do a comprehensive feasibility study. They winged it, kind of like our mayor is doing now. Our Public Works Department is also currently in union negotiations, and if a union passes, so will the cost of the Public Works Department by a lot. Better yet, as I was typing this speech today, I finally received a half-assed legal analysis I had been demanding from our interim village manager and our village attorney for tonight's agenda item to dissolve the township. When reading the legal analysis that I received just 4.5 hours before this meeting, I also looked at the state statutes. The mayor's dream of funds magically transferring from the township, if it gets dissolved, don't look good or too promising. According to what I read through, it's near impossible, and it looks like the lawyers kind of agree. If by some weird chance the mayor's personal vendetta referendum does work in her favor, it looks like the assets under control all go to Will County, not the village of Homer Glen. Now, the mayor could be waiting to see if an amendment to the state statute regarding the dissolution of the township goes through. An amendment that she and her slate have been heavily campaigning and lobbying for down the state. That amendment may allow her to do what she is hoping for. But currently that bill is sitting in the House Rules Committee. This whole farce of playing two pieces of legislation on tonight's agenda for a lot of what-ifs and personal vendettas that are politically focused on destroying Homer Township has nothing to do with what's best for the residents of Homer Glen. I call it ridiculous, but that's an understatement. It's a perversion of our governing body. It's unethical and it's misconduct to be so fiscally irresponsible to place legislation on an agenda to be voted on that there is no research, proof of due diligence, transparency, accountability, feasibility, you name it. Whatever the mayor and her slate should have done before actually putting this up to be voted on was not done. It's not acceptable. It's really bad practice, and it shows me that nobody knows or cares about what they are doing with our residents' taxpayer dollars. This is not the time to waste other people's money or willfully put our village in jeopardy and create situations that will give the mayor and her slate the excuse to increase our taxes. Homer Township Road District Commissioner and the Homer Township Supervisor stated before the mayor did that they were willing to take jurisdiction of the Hadley Parker Road. The Road District Commissioner, who has over 30 plus years as an engineer with infrastructure, feels confident that he will not have to hire more staff or increase taxes. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. The promise is on him to our residents to do what he says he can do. The mayor has not given me and this board anything to support that she can do it without hiring more staff, afford the road, and not increase our taxes. None. Our mayor, our village board, our attorney, and our public works director and public works department of only 2 years do not have the institutional knowledge to state that they can keep that promise. Show me the money. Show me the comprehensive plan and the feasibility studies, like you should be doing, but you all refuse to do. If you can't or won't do that, then I oppose this legislation. If our residents are in fear that Will County will plow through and continue with the project in the immediate future, then the Homer Township Road District Commissioner can have the road. The Road District Commissioner stepped up to the plate before the mayor did. The township can absolutely take over the road and have promised to maintain it without widening it and destroying both our residents' properties and with little impact to the environment. The mayor made a false statement at a previous meeting when she stated the township could not take over the road. They can. All they have to do is apply for it, but the village has to approve it. And if the village denies it, I have no problem calling a spade and telling our residents it is simply because your mayor doesn't want them to have it. The mayor made her politics and her personal vendetta crystal clear last month when she rambled on about her insane logic and mission to destroy Homer Township. It's on video for all of our residents to witness. She denied giving a permit to the Homer Township Parade because she can and because she hates Steve College. There's no mistaking that message. Your mayor is bypassing our council manager form of government for a strong mayor form of government. She believes she can do whatever she wants. And here we are again tonight. The same logic and a personal mission or vendetta to destroy Homer Township, whether we like it or not. 6 months of this, 6 months of this board not accomplishing anything productive. Just politics and bitterness. It's extremely shameful. I'm sure our residents are thrilled. The group that promised integrity and civility on our board has failed. I have to say all of this during my trustee report because if I don't, the mayor will blatantly disregard our parliamentary procedures and quickly cut me off. She'll make derogatory comments towards me or even skip me when it's my turn to speak during discussion. She does it at every single meeting. And her personal friend, the village attorney, graciously allows it. Now, on tonight's resolution to dissolve Homer Township, I think it's extremely telling all on its own. Absolutely nothing is included whatsoever in our packet regarding the budget implications, cost implications, or comprehensive plan or feasibility study. Anyone notice the theme here? You have elected officials doing whatever they want with zero accountability. I did get the legal analysis that I've demanded for a month, just hours before the meeting, and it doesn't support any feasibility, so I'm not quite sure why this made it onto our agenda. I don't see any petitions. The mayor claimed she had hundreds of signatures for this, yet there's nothing included in the packet. Yet, I guarantee our mayor and her rubber stamper slate will proudly vote to pass this illogical and nonsensical referendum along with the Hadley Parker Road takeover. Once this happens, I am willing to bet that our village will be involved in a lawsuit, if not a few. Lawsuits that will cost our village taxpayers and our township taxpayers for a very long time to come. Money that I don't believe that our residents have the luxury of just pissing up because of someone's political agenda or personal vendetta. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if our mayor goes out and hires a public relations firm to champion for her insane referendum. It was legal when Mayor Yukich and his former rubber stampers hired Seraphin and Associates to do this for the road district referendum in 2020. And it will be illegal to do it again with this referendum. Campaigning for ballot initiatives is illegal. So mark my words and keep an eye out for a pricey PR firm. I wonder if they will be just as expensive as our village attorney at $18,000 a month. So, thank you to our mayor and our rubber stamp slate for placing our village in jeopardy and gambling with our hard-earned money on a resolution I'm pretty sure is unconstitutional. Happy voting, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Consolino. Trustee Reinders?
Good evening, everyone. Just very short, just wanted to give everybody an update on the progress. As Joe stated, that we are starting to work on the roads in the park, in Heritage Park. Also, just to give everybody an update, at the last meeting, the board did approve the roads improvements in Heritage Park with some conditions. And thanks to Brett Westcott was looking at the numbers, and we decided that if we went back to the original cul-de-sac drawing from the master plan, that it would cost us less money in the event that we were going to add something to our parking plan for that area of the park. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on that, where the Parks Committee is all on board with that. And also, the Parks Committee met last Friday, and we have concluded our minor changes to the master plan regarding the Veterans Memorial, a pavilion, and the soccer fields. So we will be bringing a workshop, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully at our next board meeting, the Parks Committee will be here and give a presentation on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialko?
All right, thank you, Mayor. What I'd like to say for the Homerfest meeting, we have November 1st will be our next meeting at 5:30 p.m. if you'd like to join us in the community room. The other thing is for Homerfest, I did get some late numbers, and out of all the special events that we have during the year, there's 26 of them besides Homerfest. This is the only event that brings the numbers to the board, where we ask for a budget, where we explain how much what our expenses were, what our income and sales were, and the profit. So I'm about to do that, and I may have to cover it again when we get to this item, which is going to be L10, but I believe it's been inserted to L2. Nevertheless, for Homerfest 2023, Wednesday I was given some numbers. There were some adjustments made by John Sawyers today. The budget for Homerfest in 2023 was $246,000. That was just under what how the numbers fell together last year. So we were basically asking for what we had and brought in. The expenses this year were $191,754.25. The income and sales were $248,929. And the approximate profit for the fest was $57,173. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Village Clerk?
The 19th, right? Is that this next week? Next week. Next Thursday is going to be the last market in the Glen. Again, that's Thursday, October 19th from 3 to 7. And then join us for a spectacular afternoon of fun at our trunk or treat event on Saturday, October 21st from 3 to 5 p.m. The parking lot will be transforming into a hauntingly delightful spectacle with cars adorned in the most creative and captivating decorations. This is a family-friendly event and all are welcome.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Village Attorney?
Nothing at this time.
Public safety officials? Thank you. All right, I guess it's my turn. So first, I'd like to apologize to the residents for the political charades that you guys all just saw. How embarrassing. I don't want to waste your guys' time, but I have a lot of things to clear up. You know, the statement was made about unethical and being unethical and stuff. You know what I find unethical? I find it hilarious that a trustee will sit up here and make numerous accusations, misquote me, say many things that she just thinks. No proof, no facts, no solid information like I have on numbers. I also find it hilarious that our tax assessor would come up to the podium and say he's against the township takeover, which, by the way, I never said there was going to be a township takeover. My words were, I'd like to get the village out of the township, and I have reasons. I have $1.3 million reasons why I'd like to be out of the township. I think it's hilarious that Mr. Morello would come up here and say he doesn't agree with it when him and I had a conversation in his office when he was the village manager. And he said, you know what, Christina? I think the best move for the village is to get rid of the highway department and the township itself, and that's where we'll get our money for the money that we're short to maintain our public works. He said, the only office you can't get rid of is, guess what? The assessor's office. Those were his exact words. Mr. Porfilio stood up here and just rambled on some numbers. To correct you again, it is 18 miles. I have it from IDOT. If you haven't corrected it in 2 years of you being the highway commissioner, that's not my fault nor my problem.
It was sent
It's
in.
documented 18 miles.
It was sent in.
But I still haven't received it in 2 years.
I'll give you a copy.
Okay, please do.
I will.
So let's talk about what is actually levied. Okay, it's gonna be a minute. The Township Road District actually levies $1.751 million.
Nope.
It's $1.5 million as a levy. I have it right here from the Will County,
Nope.
right here.
1.3.
Says what? Excuse me.
Madam Mayor,
If
can I interrupt,
I,
please?
thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
please.
You all had your chance to talk, and I've let it slide 3 or 4 times. I don't want to hear any more comments. None.
Thank you, Lieutenant Taylor.
Thanks, Judge.
So it's $1.5 million that the highway levies. They also levy $250,000, bringing into $1.751 million for 18 miles of road. To me, that's criminal. It comes out to be $58,346,000 per mile. That's just the highway department. The township itself, which includes the assessor, is 1.184 and some change. Do you know what our residents of Homer Glen pay into this township? $1.355662. That's what we, as the Village of Homer Glen residents, pay. And what do we get? And I don't want to hear about half shares, because that half share of the $466,000 is not included in that number. Yeah, we get that number back, the 466, and that goes towards our road district. That's one thing we can agree on. But us taxpayers in the Village of Homer Glen pay $1.355 million. For what? For you guys to stand up here at the podium and charade and campaign? That's not what this meeting's about. We have stuff to get done. We have stuff to take care of. We've got Hadley Road, we got to figure out, hey, guess what? Hadley Road, what does that cost? Somewhere between $1 and $5 million, supposedly? We got $1.3 million sitting right here that we as taxpayers pay and get zero services from. We're just as bad as Lockport was just a few years ago. Wasn't everyone campaigning saying, why does Lockport pay into this road district and they don't service the roads? In fact, 18 miles, we contract 8 of those miles. So my question is, to the township, what are you guys doing all day? You have 10 miles to take care of. For 1.3, yeah, I'm angry, I'm upset. I have to protect these residents. You can protect yours, I have to protect mine. I have a lot more to add to this, but I'm getting a little angry and that's not me. But all I'm gonna say is, I have 1.3 million reasons why I think the Village of Homer Glen should get out of the township. And I believe Mr. Balich campaigned on that once upon a time. He should stick to his campaign promises, and since he can't, I'll pull through for him. Moving on. If anyone has any further questions, I'll be happy to answer it when it comes to that point. Consent agenda. Consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of September 29, 23 through October 12, 23 in the amount of $431,387.96. And consider for approval a proposal from K Brothers Fence for installation of new fencing and gate to replace the existing south gate at the Public Works Garage in the amount of $12,013. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second? Trustee Reinders? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee Stylen. Trustee Consolino. Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to, which was consent agenda item 2, consider for approval a quote with Team Real Inc. for the purchase and installation of replacement slide in Evelyn's Gate Park in the amount of $16,977.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Consolino, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Consolino, is there any discussion?
Yes, part of the reason that I pulled this out tonight, to be fair, Trustee McNaughton and Trustee Mason, you guys live in that subdivision, correct?
You don't have to answer that. She is supposed to direct all questions to me. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
Okay. The reason why I asked that is just pure and simple because it's a lot of money for a slide, and I think it's a conflict of interest for the board. So that's why I pulled it out of consent agenda.
Duly noted. Trustee Reinders, do you have any comments?
The only comment I have is that, Jennifer Vittori, who is the head of our Parks and Recreation, she actually has exhausted every remedy trying to repair the slide. And this is the only conclusion that was going to come to it is to replace the slide. They fixed it twice, and twice it was in disrepair, and it's become a danger to leave it the way it is, so we definitely have to replace it.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko?
I think safety is paramount, especially with our kids, and I support this. Thank you.
Trustee McNaughton?
More than Kurt and I live in that subdivision. I do believe that I see a lot of kids down there from within that subdivision and from outside of the subdivision that live in Glen. And the slide needs to be replaced. It's been repaired numerous times, and I move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mason?
As Trustee McNaughton just mentioned, yes, I do live in that subdivision, but it's not about me. I don't use that slide. My grandchildren do. I like all children. I don't like all men, but I like all children. Bottom line, it's a safety issue. I've been out there many a times. We blocked it off once or twice. The teenagers tear it down. I don't care if we don't fix it, because then it's a real issue where this town or village gets sued because it's about a 12-foot drop. I've been out there and zip-tied it myself. And then I've been out there with the Parks Department. I've been out there with the Public Works. I've been through that park. I pick up the garbage in that park. So I know how important it is. But what's more important is the children. So, do what we need to do. I think we should fix it because I've actually had talks with our lead in the parks. And there is no, I guess, what would you call it, a binding that is going to hold together this cracked, beat up slide. We can be sued again. We're sued by our own all the time.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I understand that slide is about 15, 20 years old, so it is due for replacement. I don't think anyone has to recuse themselves from voting on this issue. It is a village park, and we are all responsible for the village parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stylen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to legislation and action items. Item number 1, consider for approval of proclamation.
Actually, according to the changes, we would be on L10.
Trustee Consolino asked for L2 to move to, or L10 to move to L2.
Correct.
So we're on L1. 1 comes before 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Consider for approval a proclamation declaring October as Oaktober Oak Awareness Month. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Consolino. Trustee Consolino, would you mind reading the proclamation since you are chair of the Environment Committee?
Thank you. Designation of October as Oaktober. Oak Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen. Whereas oak ecosystems have been a significant part of the Illinois landscape for more than 5,000 years and are now a state of decline across the entire state of Illinois. And whereas the state tree of Illinois is the white oak. And whereas Illinois forest, woodland, and savanna communities have been greatly reduced statewide, and the remaining oak ecosystems are declining in health due to the decline of oak dominance. And whereas these threats and declines are due to the lack of public awareness, impacts of invasive species, poor management practices, and reduced resources. And whereas oak ecosystems in Illinois provide needed food and support for native insects and wildlife. Oak trees and their companion species contribute to important native biological diversity. And whereas research has shown that oak trees and forests improve our air and water quality, human health, social, and economic well-being, provide jobs and revenue, and improve the overall quality of life for all citizens across all neighborhoods and community boundaries. And whereas the Illinois statewide Forest Resource Assessment and Strategy identifies the loss of oak ecosystems as a critical issue for the health of forest resources in Illinois and acknowledges the significant decline of oak dominance, the predominant forest type in Illinois, the change in forest landscapes, the decrease in forest health, and a significant need to teach the mechanics of oak regeneration, protect oak woodlands, and preserve our Illinois natural heritage. And whereas the Illinois Wildlife Action Plan identifies the quality of wooded habitats in Illinois as a major concern and the need to understand and manage oak decline in the state. And whereas awareness of the threats and impacts to oak ecosystems is an important first step towards behavioral change and an opportunity to engage citizens to protect and improve the health and services of our oak ecosystems and natural resources overall. And whereas Oak Awareness Month is an opportunity for government to join forces with business, industry, conservation groups, recreational groups, community organizations, and citizens to take action to support our native oak ecosystem. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that October 2023 is recognized as Oaktober, Oak Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, dated this 11th day of October 2023.
Thank you, Trustee Consolino. Trustee Mason, do you have any discussion?
I think we found something that we can agree upon finally. I'm all for the native species. My son's lost 2 ginormous oak trees, and yeah, I'm all for it.
Trustee Consolino? No. Trustee Reiners? Trustee Fialko? Trustee Style?
Just that our oak trees are a wonderful asset to our village, and I fully support.
Trustee McNaughton?
No.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to L10, consider for approval the budget for the 2024 Homer Community Festival for the total amount of $241,300. Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
And I'll second.
Trustee Fialko, Trustee Mason, Trustee Fialko, do you have any comments?
No, the committee was happy to go through the numbers on Wednesday and put this together. We're looking forward to a great fest again for 2024. I know it'll be my last year. I've already told everybody that. And we're looking to have a good year. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mason?
Yes, I reached out to Trustee Fialko earlier tonight. I think he does a great job, and I don't think the numbers, again, things get omitted, and it's maybe because of the past, but there's labor costs involved that's not on here with Parks and Rec. There's labor costs on here for Public Works. So the $248,929 that we made in lieu of what we spent, we say that there's a profit of $57,123. Well, when we take the overtime and the labor cost of that, and maybe we just need to get more volunteers to get involved with the village instead of attacking it, maybe then we can make that number a lot higher in profit. And as everyone likes to say, we don't like to tax anybody, but we need to host these events for our constituents and our neighbors and our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Consolino?
No, I've witnessed how Trustee Fialko manages to be the most frugal individual on the board and cuts corners every possible way with us, so I commend him for it. I'm supportive of it.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, the Homerfest has done well every year since its inception, and we've never meant to make a profit. We wanted to provide something for the community, and fortunately we've had good weather, we've done well, and it's been managed well. We've kept under budget. I think the reduction in the budget was nice, $5,000, and I trust Trustee Fialko to do an excellent job again in 2024.
Trustee McNaughton?
Yes, just wanted to publicly thank Trustee Fialko and the team for all of the work that you've done historically and presently. It's always a great event, the most recent, I think, being one of the best that we've had to date. So thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Reiners?
I would just like to thank Trustee Fialko for his hard work in keeping the budget where it's at, and also for providing the community with such great events.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo what Trustee Mason said. If we can get more volunteers and work together to make this community better, that would be great. Madam Clerk, please.
Maybe I could address one of the comments that was made.
Sure.
Just so we're all on the same page here, we always have a hard time getting volunteers. People have a hard time paying. There's people that want to work for a paycheck. So I am very grateful for the volunteers that we do get out there, who spend 4 days of endless hours busting the butts to make it happen. And it's a good idea. It's always a good idea to have the idea. The idea is always the easy part. So when I'm done in 24, all the ideas that are being mentioned here, you can put them forward, and I hope you're the committee chair and you can do those things. As far as the money that was spent on Public Works to work there, it's never been included in the fest. I look back in the history, it never has been included. As a matter of fact, when Carmen Morello was here, the idea was that we were going to have them shift their schedules, so they would just be doing they would be on regular time without being on overtime. And I have no control over that. Once it gets into in-house and the village manager is taking care of things, and however that superintendent takes care of things, that's their business. I stay in my lane. As far as documenting that, it's never been documented. Anybody that can do better in the future, God bless you, I hope you can. And when you want to change things in 25, you can. And I'll be right there to help you if you need my help. But that would be all I have to say.
Just for clarification, the parks haven't been around. When you say the history, they've been around since 21, correct? Just for clarification. Parks Department, right? So public, no, he's talking about Parks Department.
For years
I'm talking, the Public Works was included in the salary or in the budget, but Parks has not. That's the point Trustee Mason was trying to make, and the Parks Department has only been around since 21. So when you go back in history, you can't go that too far back. So, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton. Trustee Consolino. Aye. Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now moving on to L12. Consider for approval Resolution 23-014, authorizing a public question to be submitted to the voters of the Village of Homer Glen concerning whether the Village of Homer Glen should take appropriate action and pursue appropriate efforts to potentially dissolve and discontinue the township government. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Stein. Trustee Mason.
You know, bottom line, I see a lot of people come here and it's always the same people. It's the HDRO, it's the township. I like the 1.3 million reasons. You made a great point, Madam Mayor. I listened to the ex-village manager, and he talks about, everybody's office, because I remember this, going back, to be dissolved or abolished or whatever the case may be, but the county would actually handle it. I always hear that we're not doing a new levy, we're not doing new taxes. Mine went up 7.7% this year. And I think a lot of people can give the same perception. That's what I see. I see the HDRO, and maybe, you say you're Republican, but I see too far right. I'm also Republican, but perception is what the HDRO and the township continually does. They come in front of this board and they sell perception. The problems, I heard Mr. Balich say, is since the last election. You're right, it is. It's actually been before the last election, because that's why I ran. I couldn't see the village and the people and the residents go through another couple years, and I was hoping to make peace and move forward, which we have done, like Trustee Reinders and myself. I'm working on the park and getting the parking in. Mr. Westcott did a great job and is actually going to save us some money. We're actually going to use the TRIA plan portion, which has already been paid for. That's always been my thing, is to not tax somebody or buy something that I've already bought. If I brought a brand new couch, I'm not buying another one to put on top of it. Mr. Portfolio talks about you know, 6.5 thousand, or 650,000 is all he has to work with. I know that number is not accurate. I've heard many different things. I'd like to see some numbers in writing. Bottom line, you know, like the mayor mentioned, 8 miles of that's already being taken care of by the village. What's another 10 miles? I think I could do a lot with $1.3 million. You know, I keep listening to other trustees, and maybe some people have had too many Cook County politics in their system. I'm gonna try not to ramble on like most of them, or some of them. But I just feel, you know, it was mentioned that, you know, the $18,000 a month for 2 lawyers, we saved $18,000 a month. That's happened once, and it's happened because of Hadley. It's happened because of a whole bunch of other reasons, because the lawyers work diligently for the people of this village. We went from 2 lawyers to 1 lawyer. That was the bill every month prior to us taking this dice. Mr. Westcott, thank you again for doing a great job. Mr. Fialco, thank you for doing a great job on your end. I'm done again, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Stylen?
Thank you. When the village incorporated, or was going through the incorporation effort, a lot of residents of the township, which I'm now in the village, questioned another layer of government. And there was concern that if we created a village, you know, we were just going to be taxed more. I think the village is run efficiently. And now it's time to question, do we need the extra layer of government of a township? This village has controlled its destiny and density. If we weren't incorporated, we'd probably have warehouses and all sorts of other development that the residents here would not appreciate. We've added trails, we've added events, we've added parks. In fact, we took over, the township graciously gave us their parks. And I do not have a figure. I would like that figure because it is not a small figure about what we have spent on the township parks that were neglected for many, many, many years. So to that point, I'm not sure what the township really does provide other than some senior services and manage senior housing. So I supported, I'll come right out and say, I would support dissolving the township, but that is not what this board is here for. That was my opinion before 2021, before the new board was elected. There are 24 townships in Will County alone. And Illinois is known for having more government entities than any other state. And at some point, we residents and citizens of Illinois have to come forward and say that enough. We need to eliminate some of these layers of government. And this referendum that we are discussing tonight is a message to Illinois saying that we need to eliminate some of these layers. The reading of, I don't know exactly if this is the wording that is going to be on the referendum, because we have to be very careful. Referendums have been known to be very confusing. We know that from the Public Works or Road District referendum and others, that people don't understand what they're voting for. But I will say, I questioned the word potentially dissolve when I saw this wording on the agenda. And it says, concerning whether the Village of Homer Glen should take appropriate action and pursue appropriate efforts to potentially dissolve or discontinue township government. And I thought, oh my goodness, why are we saying potentially? Isn't that going to be confusing? Shouldn't we just say to dissolve? No, it's because we're not asking to dissolve the township on this referendum. This is an advisory referendum asking the residents, is this something that we should pursue? And as Trustee Consolino has alluded to, that needing to do feasibility studies and getting information, that's what this potentially does. It gives us the chance to say, residents, are you interested in us looking into this? And then I'm guessing, I don't know what the next step is. After this, is there another step? I think that, will the residents have to vote after this, after that information is made public, to whether or not we can even dissolve? And there are many state statutes and questions as to whether that's possible. But this referendum, I believe, will send a message to the state that we have too many layers of government in Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stein. Who's the next? Trustee McNaughton.
Thank you, Trustee Stidle. Absolutely, we do have too many layers in the state of Illinois. Now, I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around tonight, whether it's 10 miles, 18 miles, or most recently 19.9 miles. I've heard 1.3 million, I've heard 650,000. Let's take best case scenario, 19.9 miles, $650,000. It's still $33,000 per mile. Just doesn't add up to me. I'm not the one to make the decision. I believe we should ask the community, which is the reason why we're here, is to serve the community. So let them have a voice. They will decide what should happen in our community. Thank you.
Trustee Reiners.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I am all for smaller government, but my concerns for this village are that we are facing a lot of pressing issues that need to be addressed. We have a boundary agreement with Lockport that will expire in the next year. We have the issue of no revenue being generated because Lockport will not approve our permits to build on anything west of Cedar Road. We have a union contract being negotiated that will boost salaries very soon. We have a huge decision to make regarding our wastewater treatment plant, not to mention our outrageous water bills forced upon the residents of this village. There has been no consensus from the township on whether they agree with this decision. And the reason I say that is because from the statutes that I read, which can be very confusing, it basically states that there has to be a consensus with the township and the municipality to do this. So how do we pay for all this in the event that they try to sue us? Those are my concerns. Do we want to start this fight now when we have all these other irons in the fire that we need to address? My other concern is the employees. I know that there's not that many employees in the township, but being somebody that owns their own business, I worry about, how are these people going to find other jobs, especially at this time when our economy is horrible and there's so many jobs out there, but yet people can't seem to find jobs. So my concern is, food costs are through the roof, and how are they going to survive? What are we just going to fire these employees? So those are some of my concerns, and the residents of the unincorporated areas. I know about a year and a half ago, we waived, Trustee Fialco had brought to the attention of the board to waive the fees for anybody that was going to annex into the village. Well, since that time, we haven't had anybody that's annexed into the village. So these are my concerns. If we eliminate the township, what is going to happen to these people if they say they don't want to come within the village? So there's a lot that we have to consider, and I know this is basically just for a vote, but we need to get all the answers. I personally need to know the legalities of this, whether or not this is something that the municipality can do, because the township isn't just Homer Glen. The township is Lockport, it's New Lenox, and it's Lamont. So those are really my concerns, and moving forward, I would just hope that we can address those concerns before we move forward. Does Lockport have to pay? Do they have to play or actually be involved in this referendum? Do they have to have their own referendum of their own? So these are all the legal questions that I have moving forward, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Reiners. Trustee Consolino.
What Trustee Reiners just said is really important, because there are larger priorities at stake here than this kind of stuff. I understand that it's not binding sewer, okay? But we haven't done anything productive on this board in 6 months. That's why I was so angry with my speech. You guys have been planning this, excuse me, Mayor, you and your slate have been planning this for quite some time, and you alluded to it in the 100-day report that you didn't really give, where you said, too busy, but that we better get on board and in line, because lots more was coming our way. It was whether we like it or not. Trustee Mason, you want to complain and say that $1.3 million is a lot. It's not a government. And you don't know if you dissolve that township, if you can do it, and you can get that money. How much money are you really going to get? There's been between you and Mr. McNaughton, you always talk about money and what's being spent. We don't have any facts whatsoever. We have no costs. We have nothing. We have no feasibility. I don't believe what we're doing is constitutional. I think it's against the Illinois State Constitution. I tried to say that in my speech. So without zero information, I don't believe that we can make a smart, educated decision on this board to make any type of referendum. We don't even know what the wording is specifically going to be. So I don't know how much homework was done. This was obviously planned for a long time. I think you guys should have presented it better to the board. You didn't. That's what I was pointing out. Got nothing. There's nothing in the packet for this, just your resolution. So I'm highly disappointed in all of you for bringing it like this. But I know how it's going to go, and that's okay. You guys vote the way you're going to vote. You know, I also would like to challenge Trustee Mason. I think you need to do your homework. You need to have all those bills. I would just go back to last year, but I do have those amounts written down, and I can email them to you this week, okay? Because I did it. I did it for the last 2 years. So $18,000 is insane, and I'm not going to tolerate it. It's not acceptable. And I also want to ask our attorney that's here tonight with us, did you research if our board needs to have a supermajority for this one?
For what?
For the vote?
For the vote on what?
For this referendum?
Vote.
This resolution?
No, that was not the assignment that I was given from my law firm.
Okay, do you think we need one?
That I have not looked at it, and I have no opinion one way or the other with it. No one has asked me today to be prepared to go through the resolutions of this board to determine what is needed for any sort of referendum.
And so here we are. Not prepared. Thank you for your answer. Trustee Bielko?
All right, whether we call this potentially dissolve or discontinue the township government, it all kind of rolls into the same ball. And I'd like to start off with 60 ILS 129-5, and that resolution to discontinue and abolish a township, the township board and the corporate authorities of a commodious municipality made by resolution of the board and corporate authorities, and after the referendum of the voters of the township and municipality, discontinue and abolish the township. But what it says there is it takes the cooperation between the township board and this board. It isn't something that we can just do. And so what I feel here is we're putting the cart before the horse. If we actually want to do something, we should be sitting down with the township and discussing what is the long-term plan? How are we, put it to paper, show us numbers. The second part of that, I'd like you to, matter of fact, I'll just do it. I'll just, the definition of coterminous is having the same boundaries or extent in space, time, or meaning. And if there's may I ask the lawyer if there's another term that you use for that? Is there something different than that applies, or was that explained well enough?
No, that's a term, the term that you're referring to, coterminous, in regards to the village of Evanston. There was a special provision that was put in the county code. If you want me to get into it. But
no, I'd rather you don't, because it's not about another township. It's actually in the state statute. That's not anything to do with anybody else. That is in the state statute, the verbiage. So, thank you. I appreciate it. The Article 25 also describes of the township code, provides a statutory procedure for a county to dissolve all the townships within its all the townships within its boundaries. Matter of fact, on the north end here, there was a town which you were speaking of, actually took and voted on it to dissolve a township. And the governor at that time, I believe it was Rauner, vetoed it because he wanted all the townships within the county to dissolve, not just one, because it causes all kinds of complications. So if it isn't uniform, he didn't want it. Now that was then. I did, a year and a half ago, abolish the fee of $500 plus $100 per acre to get rid of the annexation fee from Homer Township residents to come into Homer Glen. Zero have taken it. Now, I've been told several different reasons why, about taxation and fines and everything else that comes with the township and the water and everything else. So that's why I was told by a couple people that asked, well, why didn't you take advantage of that? I would like us to find out on this, because my looking into IML and the supermajority list that they've got, it looks like that it would fall into this category. So before we vote on this, maybe you could look it up. Does this require the supermajority to bring this forward to even do this? Because we're wasting a lot of time and money and lawyers' fees and in our efforts where we could be doing other things. If legal tells us that we can do this and we're going to have some teeth with it and not be a paper tiger just to show we're going to throw it out there to see what we can do, to see what will stick on the wall, I think we need to sit down, roll back, let's get together as a group, let's talk about it, let's sit down with the township. What's the plan? There is no plan. Without a plan, you're just walking into the wall or disaster. I do not believe this is the way to go. The other layers of township government are the library. The librarian makes $100 and some thousand a year, almost $175,000, I think, with benefits. The township fire department. Are they next? Who's next? It's just, where do we stop and where do we draw the line if this wants to be done? I don't think enough thought has been put into it, and I ask this board to roll back. Let's do our homework. Let's do our due diligence, because just putting it to a referendum and spending the money is a waste of time. Let's figure it out. Let's do it together, and then let's move forward. I think that's about all I have to say. As far as the employees, I don't want to see employees lose their job either. Before I was even a trustee, when the road district issue was going on, I came to that very podium and talked about what's going to happen to the employees. And Mike DeVivo at that time said, Dan, you know what? We're not going to let anything happen to employees. I'm not even going to give the road district over to the village unless there's an agreement to take the employees. So that, like Trustee Reiner says, that is a very important part of the factor. And we haven't worked that part out yet either. So let's have hearts. Let's take and roll back. Let's be the village that we're supposed to be. Let's do our homework. Let's be fiscally responsible, find out what it's going to cost, and then move forward. I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, but we have to have legal advice to tell us if we can, if it's a waste of time even putting this to a referendum. And at this point, I think it is, from the information I have. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fielko. Okay, the clarification. This is not about the township versus the village. This is not about my like or dislike for Steve Balish. In fact, I thank him for getting me into politics 15 years ago. He's probably regretting that right now, but I personally thank him. But that doesn't mean I owe him anything. You know, this is not about me forcing the township residents to annex into Homer Glen either. This has nothing to do with that. I was elected to do one job, and that is to protect the residents of Homer Glen, and that's what I'm doing. This question on the ballot is what's called an advisory question. I believe there was a question on the last ballot that some of these board members had put on there without a study, without any information about the police department. We had no numbers, we had no information. It's an advisory question. What do the residents want? Do they want to get out of the township, or do they want to continue to pay these taxes and get no services? I don't know. I mean, me personally, that's what I would like to do. You know, there was an email read at one of the last board meetings about, you know, being fiscally responsible and going to other municipalities about them raising their taxes. If I would have known there was a school board meeting and they were raising their increases, or taxes, I would have been right there next to you, screaming and yelling about that too. Let me know the next time that meeting is, because I'll do the same. The other thing, Trustee Stylen, you are correct. What I would like to do is, it says potentially, is because I just want to see if this is what the residents want us to look into. Yes, I would then like to come back. This isn't 3-month, 6-month, year deal. This is going to take time. I understand this isn't going to be an overnight thing. You know, I know some people up here want to protect their buddies and seats, but this is not about that to me. This is about what does the residents want to do. And Trustee Fialko, Trustee Reinders, you're right, there was no discussion. Apparently, Mr. Balish said I had this big, long conversation with him how I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. If you guys think I'm gonna sit down with a man who just put words in my mouth, that's not gonna happen. There's no way. I'm sorry, but I tried. I tried to have a 2-minute conversation about something else and it got twisted into this. That is why this is on our agenda today, is because Mr. Balich went out and told everyone I had this grand plan. Never did I say this was my grand plan. It was discussion. I wasn't even gonna bring this up. But since he brought it up at the township meeting, he brought it up here, he went around trying to petition me to get out to be no longer mayor, good luck. But, I mean, I don't know what to say. This wouldn't have been on here if a discussion would have been had. But, unfortunately, that's not what happens. To be honest, I just sat up here through public comment, through reports. I mean, Trustee Consolino, you just got done saying how you're so disappointed in us and how this board has not been productive. I'm in this village quite a bit. I haven't seen you once since I've been elected. So, I mean, I'm getting things done. I'm making things happen. Again, me and you don't have the best of relationship. I don't have time to type out my daily itinerary and who I talk to and where I go. I mean, my husband doesn't even know, or my kids don't even know where I'm at. I don't even know where I'm at half the time because I'm on a very busy schedule with this village. But for you to sit here and say that you're disappointed in us, you know what? I'll give your comments the consideration it deserves. Any more statements, comments? You want to go one more round, or are we going to make a vote? Call the vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
To press forward, aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
To be fiscally responsible, no.
Trustee Reinders.
No.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
The answer is after I request that our attorney look up and see it after this meeting, if we needed a supermajority for this
We
one.
need it now.
How does that fare?
This is not a question.
Yeah, but this is actually a point of order at this time.
It's a referendum, and for certain things, sir, you need to have a supermajority.
Attorney, do we need a supermajority on this vote?
I would need to take a brief recess and look at the to ascertain the nature of what it is that we're looking to accomplish here and to see what your target for the village
I think that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, motion to take a brief recess, which 5 minutes?
Thank you.
I so move.
Second.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialko. Trustee Consolino. Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Let's see what the people say.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
This is to put
Present, this is for present, yeah.
Okay, to put us back into session. Aye.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee Consolino.
I'm sure she'll be back briefly. I'm also present.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, so after council review, we do not need supermajority to pass an advisory question on a referendum. So we were in the process of the vote. I believe we left it with Trustee Fialko was...
No, we only had Trustee Consolino left, I believe.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, Trustee Consolino.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Can you please repeat the motion? Yeah, we are in L12, consider for approval resolution 23-014, authorizing a public question to be submitted to the voters of the Village of Homer Glen, considering whether the Village of Homer Glen should take appropriate action and pursue appropriate efforts to potentially dissolve and discontinue township government. you want me to just read what everybody voted for?
Sure.
Okay. Trustee Stylen was yes, trustee Mason was yes, trustee McNaughton was yes, trustee Fialco, no, trustee Reinders, no. Just waiting on trustee Consolino.
No.
Mayor Neinske-Trocchi.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, now we're moving on to item L6. Consider for approval a motion to authorize staff to process a request for jurisdictional transfer of Hadley Road and portions of Park Road and Chicago Bloomington Trail to be added to the village street system as shown on Exhibit A. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is it
I'll
trustee
second.
Consolino? And trustee Mason, trustee Consolino, do you have any comments?
Yes, I'd like to know how we plan on paying for this.
Is that a direct question to me?
Yes, please.
Well, township transfer would be a good way. I don't know the exact costs. I believe it was stated between $1 to $5 million. That's my answer for you.
So you have an answer.
The answer is we'll figure it out. However, I don't think that, no, this is honest. Yeah, no. I mean, I got no shame in saying I don't have all the answers. It's fine. I'll get the answers. We'll get the money. We'll figure it out. Is that good enough for you? No. Do you have any more comments? All right, trustee, who's the second one? Trustee Mason.
I stated last week and or alluded that I would like to see more of the township within the village. With that being said, I still, for all the reasons, the beautification, the trees, the nature, the rolling hills, all those reasons, I want it in the village. These people too are taxpayers, and I am physically responsible, but at the same time, we need to stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Mason. Trustee Stylen.
Yes, we are being forced to do this because of the Phase 1 study for Will County. If we don't act now, we don't have much time. How are we going to pay for this? I don't know that. But you know what? We don't really know how we're paying for your road in front of your house, or trustee Reinders, or trustee Fialco, or trustee McNaughton, or trustee Mason, or myself, or the mayor. We pay for the maintenance of the roads in front of everybody's home on this board, as well as most of the village. And I don't see any reason why we can't pay for the maintenance of the roads of the residents that live in the village of Hadley and Park Road.
Thank you, trustee Reinders.
Myself and Sue Starlin and Melissa, we've done a lot of research on this, and at the end of the day, I believe that the only guarantee that we have to keep this road the way it is to take the road. That will prevent IDOT or Will County from widening it, from cutting down our trees, from digging ditches, and misplacing our bats and any other creatures that are out there. So I am definitely in favor of taking the road. That is the only guarantee that we have.
Thank you, trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialco.
Yes, I'm a little bit here. I do want to, I do support taking over and going forward with the L6. I do not like that we don't have a plan. That's a plan, without a plan is disaster. We can say how we're going to, we'll wait and see. It's like voting for a bill so you can read it to see what's in it. I've heard that about 2 years ago. So I don't like operating that way, but I really still think that there's quite a challenge from Will County. I don't want to give false hope to anybody in this audience. If Will County does not say that they will allow this to happen, and we don't have a very good batting record right now. I know of 4 things that we asked them to do, which they did not do for us. So I don't want to give you false hope. I will be voting yes for this. I know that we can work it out. There's been some conversation how we could come up with some money. I don't think it would cover the whole cost of it, but there is a cost involved. The other thing is how we got that additional piece of road on there, and the cost for that was never talked about, but that's the next item. So, with that said, I want to be fiscally responsible. I want to take care of all the people in the village of Homer Glen that want to preserve that road. But I want guarantees, because here's what could happen. If we vote this in and we say yes, and let's say Will County gives it to us, 10 years from now, when this board isn't here, and there's a completely new board, unless we put the provision in there that says future trustees or the future board cannot take and get IDOT money or money from the federal government or from the state, which you will end up right in the same spot you are today if that's not done. It hasn't been talked about here. So we could do all of this now, but a board in 10 years, you may have the same problem. So if we move forward with L6, I'd like to see the provision put in there that this board all agrees upon, that nobody on this board would be able to take and get state or federal money, which would bring you back to the same spot that you are today. And that's kind of looking at the forest, not just the tree. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee McNaughton.
At the recent special meeting, it was unanimous. 100% of the public comments were asking for help for us to protect the area, the history, and I'm proud to say that we were able to add this to the agenda tonight in short order to show that we stand with you, the members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McNaughton. We have 5 years, approximately, roughly. Oh, did I miss Trustee Mason? Oh. We have roughly 5 years to come up with how we can manage this, to make it happen. I believe the resolution that we passed is what's protecting the road from potentially being expanded. Is that not right? Is that not true?
Installed it.
Yeah, so I'm not against Trustee Fialko's opinion. I'm not against Trustee Fialko's opinion of adding in, I don't know, I'd have to ask legal how to add that in, so potential future boards cannot take IDOT money or federal or state funding. I like the idea. Trustee Reinders?
One of the things that Melissa and I and Sue did talk about was that there would have to be some type of protection moving forward to prevent that from happening in the future, whether it be an SOP, whether it be added to our ordinances, whether we do something. But there would have to be something in place.
You know as well as I do, SOPs and ordinances change like the wind in this village.
I know, but I mean, at least if there was something on the books that we could at least refer back to if somebody did try to change something in the future. So that was one of the things that we talked about.
I thought that's what the historic and the resolution that we just passed was protecting.
No, I think the resolution is really just urged the county to not move forward at this time or to be sensitive to we would need additional protections locally.
Madam Clerk, who made the motion?
Trustee Consolino.
And who made the second? Would either of you entertain adding something in there legally to protect the road from future destruction?
I don't believe that writing it into the SOP or the ordinance would have any impact, unfortunately. So it would have to be written into whatever agreement when there's transfer of jurisdiction. Am I wrong, Attorney?
The question is, the way that the motion is written, is there a way to add into the motion that future boards cannot accept funds from state or federal to expand the road according to IDOT standards?
May I clarify?
Madam Mayor.
Melissa is saying yes, Melissa.
I think the simple question, council, is how do we protect ourselves from ourselves? I think that's the question. And I'm not sure if is that the question? Trustee Fialko?
It would be to protect our village from future boards that would be come after us.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's the right.
It may not be.
But it's to protect the residents of this community for the purpose that we are here.
Yeah. So there could be layers to this. I think we talked about in the workshop. It could be that we move forward with trying to get some kind of state protection on the land. We passed an ordinance, maybe there's something related to the funding, but I think that we should look at that comprehensively to figure out what our approach or plan is. But I do think that I also, Madam Mayor, there isn't a resolution tonight on this. It's just approving, it's allowing staff to begin the process, and the resolution will come back in front of this board. We will have time, I think, if the board wanted to direct us to figure something out with council, we could add that in.
Well, this motion is just to take over the road first. First, we gotta make the road ours, to say.
But we will have to come back with an actual formal resolution to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the best route to take. Pass it as the way it is, so be it. And then, once the road is ours, then we pass a resolution saying this road cannot be touched or...
We will still need to process a resolution in order to correct?
Yes.
Yes, this is a step, we had to take a step back because there was, and I'm forgetting the detail of this with the other council, Mike Carroll. But I believe part of it was this question about Parker, this unincorporated New Lenox portion that we were unsure of. And I think that there's some things in the process with Will County DOT right now as well. And I think we need to make sure that we know what the board wants to do with regard to Exhibit A or Exhibit B.
Do you want me to touch base on that now?
We should. And then I think once we know that, if there's consensus from the board tonight with regard to this, then we can work with council and with DOT to get this thing processed. And then both entities will need to pass a resolution. And part of this is that all of it has to match, if you will. So they submit an application to IDOT, and IDOT has a description, that application has a description on it of the road, right? How IDOT wants it written. And sometimes they have comments and changes that come back to the staff at Will County DOT, and they might say, we wanted to say this instead of this in this one section. And what happens is the resolutions also have to match that verbatim, the applications and both resolutions. And so to reduce the anticipated Scrivener's errors, if you will, that may potentially happen, we pause to not do a formal resolution at this stage and to just get approval to start that process from the board.
So the board's aware and the residents are aware. There's a little hiccup on the way because when we discussed taking over the road in a sense, 3.5 miles, half of a mile is in New Lenox Township. We have a meeting scheduled with New Lenox, the mayor of New Lenox and their road district and their supervisor to discuss that last portion. The county wants us to take the entire 4 miles, but half of a mile is in New Lenox Township. So we have to figure out a way between us and them, us and New Lenox, on how to make this work to successfully take the transfer. So this is the first step to say we are going to take our portion and move forward the best we can. We did talk to the county and say, look, we only want to take ours, leave New Lenox, but they would like us to take it all. The challenging part is the part that's in New Lenox is the roughest part of the road. So we have to figure out how we're going to make that work. So that is a little hiccup, which I'm sure most of you are aware of, but just so the residents know that was the issue. Trustee Fialko?
May I ask you a question? Okay, so at this point, for the next one down, for L7, that includes that piece of road you're talking about, the additional piece. So are you asking us to either accept 6 with the way it was talked about in the workshop, or vote that down and include, it includes that extra piece of road, and to vote for the whole 4 miles plus, the whole 4 miles takes in that little piece that goes across Route 6. So are we, you don't want both, you just want one, but you want to know what we want, correct?
So I don't think this is about what I want.
Well, I understand, but it says staff.
Well, we're just preparing the information. So I think at the workshop we did talk about this. There was jurisdictional breakdown of the road project scope that Will County, that they have jurisdiction over. And this portion of the road, it's unincorporated New Lenox, has always been in their project scope area. So I broke it down for you that night to show you kind of where our area is, where their area is, And there's also statute references we talked about that, so the village can, so under state statute, we can take roads outside of our jurisdiction if we would like to. There's a little hiccup, we talked about that night too, this would be subject to review of our boundary agreement with the village of New Lenox, because this is outside of our boundary agreement line, so our boundary agreement line likely says we can't do this unless we amend that with that village. There might be steps, but I think that's up to this board to decide whether or not they just want to pursue, you just want to pursue the corporate limits, or you want to pursue all of it.
Melissa, my question is, in that boundary agreement, do we have the right?
I don't think so, but I did not, I read it one afternoon and it has not been through legal review.
You know, like with other, other towns, we don't have the right to even approach or discuss boundary line agreement changes without notifying them.
I don't know of any of that, but I think it reads as if we don't have the ability to do this right now, that this would be.
So the question stands, does the village want to take Exhibit A? Yes, and just say we all say yes. And if New Lenox says, no, we don't want that portion, are we willing to take that portion as well? That's the question.
Well, that's Exhibit B though, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
Does A?
But A we wanted you guys stated you would like to take. So A, we're done, we're gonna vote yes.
But does B,
But then
include
B-
all of ours plus that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
So we would, if we wanted all of it, we would vote no on the first one and vote yes on the second one and include it all, if you wanted all.
In my, yes, but in
That's my question.
well, you can vote yes to both because you're just adding on a little piece. But in my opinion, after reviewing what I've been in the village hall to learn, is that Exhibit A is what we want. Exhibit B, that little extra pink portion hanging off the bottom there, is in New Lenox. I think it would be respectful to go to New Lenox and say, hey, do you want this or not? And if they say, no, we don't want it, we have the vote to say, okay, well, we agreed to take it. Or do we say, no, we don't want it either, and then the county says, well, then you're not getting any of it. That's the fear, right? So.
Start for a slowdown. I don't think that we can put stipulations on a trustee that's going to be on this board 10 years from today. I don't mind trying it. I think that Ms. King has been diligent in her efforts in bringing together all the information that we seek. She made a great statement about saving ourselves from ourselves. I don't think I can stop your nephew 10 years from today on voting something regardless of what we write. Will County, regardless, we don't even know if they're going to, even if this passes, whether they're going to pass a resolution that allows us. Madam Mayor, thank you so much for, and I know, because I talk to you all the time, and I do come in here, and you're doing a great job, and you're digging deep, and you are making meetings and trying to seek intergovernmental agreements. I appreciate everything we're doing. I think the residents deserve this, and I think that we need to press forward, and we see where it takes us. We can't just sit idly by, like Trustee Stylen had stated earlier. If we sit idly by, phase one is already done with Will County, and they're getting ready to put more into it. And of course, it's overinflated tax dollars, which I'm against, always. And you had 1.3 million reasons why we could do it. Thank you.
If you guys look at the last bullet point at the very bottom, it says, pursuing the New Lenox Township portion is subject to review of the boundary agreement with the village of New Lenox. So if you vote yes on both, we can take that portion if they so choose not to.
Is it factual though, what you said though, on the first one, for L6, that if you only vote that one in, Will County's not on board with that one, right?
I'm not saying they're not 100% on board. Their understanding was we were going to take it all, so they submitted that paperwork already for us to take it all already. And when we had sent the discussion from the board that we only wanted to take that portion, they said we didn't know that. We thought you were just taking it all. So we submitted for you to take all of it, when in reality we just said our portion.
Well, that would be B then, right?
Yes, that would be B. So the county is basically proposing that we take B, but we proposed A. But the question still lies. If New Lenox says they don't want it, do we want to take it?
I think that we should be holding off until we actually know the facts. Legally speaking, I think that's a smart thing
Well,
to do.
let's vote on A, because we're on A. We at least know I don't know where you guys stand, but I know that certain board members agree to take A. So let's focus on A and then we'll go to B. Let's get A out of the way.
With no changes.
You can't make a change. I mean, maybe you guys should just keep running for the next 20 years and promise this road won't get taken. All right, where are we at? Roll call?
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to L7, consider for approval a motion to authorize staff to process and request for jurisdictional transfer of Hadley Road and portions of Parker Road and Chicago Bloomington Trail to be added to the village street system as shown on Exhibit B. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Mason, is there a second? Trustee Reinders. Trustee Mason, any comments?
Madam Mayor, as I already stated prior, I'm glad that you're doing and working with the, our neighbors, the other villages, the municipalities. If they come back and say we can't, then we can't. But meanwhile, why would we not attempt to expand our borders? Thank you.
Trustee Reinders?
I agree with Trustee Mason on this one. I think if we're going to take that portion of the road, we should take the whole road.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I don't think we can limit future boards. I think that as long as we have control of the road, it's up to the future boards to take care of our residents. I'm a little bit concerned with this because it's not in our jurisdiction. We don't have any residents that live on this portion of the road. So it's all unincorporated. And what if New Lenox does want it? I also think we would be doing the county a favor if we took over this road. So I think when we talk to the county, there should be some kind of negotiation that they should be doing us something in return for taking over a road that's not in good shape, that's not in our jurisdiction. So, but I do think that we should go ahead and try and pursue it, and I do agree with Trustee Mason, it would be nice to expand our borders.
Trustee Consolino?
I still don't believe this board knows what they're doing, is fiscally responsible, and therefore, no, I'm still not going to support it.
Trustee Fialko?
No, I have nothing. No comment.
Trustee McNaughton?
No.
The only clarification I had is there's a comment made earlier that the only reason why I wanted to take this road is because Supervisor Balich and the other two came up and said, oh, we're taking this road. There was already a discussion within the village of Homer Glen for us to take the road. They were notified that that was the village's plan, and that's why they came up here. I do think that we should go ahead and vote for Exhibit B, because if the county comes back and says you get nothing, that doesn't help the residents. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Abstain.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now we're going to move back to L2. Consider for approval the reappointment of Martin Pavlik back to the Parks and Recreation Committee. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
That was Trustee Reinders, right? I knew what you meant. Trustee Mason, Trustee Reinders, do you have any comments?
Basically, Marty Pavlik's been on the Parks Committee for a very long time and has done a great job. He had to come off the committee for a while for some work constraints, so that portion of his job is completed, and we would like to promote him forward. And the Parks Committee welcomes us.
Trustee Mason?
I'm just going to echo Trustee Reinders. I read through this. He's been a long-time member of the committee since 2018. You know, it's better than starting fresh, and bottom line, if he wants to be a part, I don't see why he shouldn't be.
Trustee McNaughton?
We earlier spoke about needing more volunteers for our community, and I support the opportunity. Thank you.
Trustee Consolino?
No, I want to thank Mr. Bailiff for stepping back up to the plate. Thank you.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, I know Marty, I know how hard he works, I know that he takes his time and is very methodical about his decisions that he makes. He is a great person to be on that board. He's been there for a long time, and I think that, thank you, Marty, for coming back. I'm sure your board misses you. Again, in the days when we can't find people to work for a paycheck sometimes, and the folks for all the boards that are on the committees, donating their time is amazing, and that participation from Martin, I'm glad to have him come back. Thank you.
Trustee Styling?
Yeah, in support of what Trustee Fialko just said, it's nice to see a committee member come back and bring his experience from being on the committee before.
Marty helped get Glen Walk Estates Park approved. Served on the committee when I was the chair. I approve. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye. Motion carries. Consider for approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen's August legal bills from Peterson, Johnson, and Murray in the amount of $18,470.50.
So moved.
Is there a motion? Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Stylen? Trustee Mason?
Like I said, I went through this, I've read through it. I remember us having 2 lawyers. I don't think the costs are out of line. We put them through hula hoops, to have a lack of better words. You guys do a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, and the law firm has been doing a lot of work for us. Maybe it doesn't appear that this board is accomplishing anything in its first 6 months, but all of these items that we are consulting with our attorneys are part of trying to accomplish something.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino?
Yes, in regards to lawyer bills, I had submitted questions to the attorney who didn't feel that I should be asking questions about the bill. Correct, village manager?
All the questions are to be directed to me.
Okay, could you please pose that to the village manager? Because he was CC'd on everything.
I can answer. I believe you responded to your questions.
Not all of them. He responded to some of them, and they were not sufficient answers on most of them. So,
I did review the attorney bills, and I believe everything on that bill is accounted for.
and there's no conflict of interest when you review the attorney's bills if he's your personal close friend?
What are
You, wait a minute.
Personal close friend?
Attorney O'Grady admitted on his first
He
day.
admitted he was my husband's friend back in the day.
No, he said his exact words were a very close family friend.
If he was a very close family friend, he would have been at my wedding, which he was not.
Well, it's too bad.
He wasn't
So
invited.
my point is, I asked, and I also want to know why these legal analysis that I've requested, so you could ask this to the interim village
If I so
manager.
choose to.
So, if you so choose to, I've asked repeatedly, well, okay, so first off, the attorney's bills were not included in the packet.
There's a
for
reason for
online. Okay, because it was claimed to be what, confidential?
Yes.
Okay.
There's things
So
discussed.
not
in
everything on
executive
there is
session.
confidential, okay? So you are basically violating OMA by not placing the attorney bills on the public website.
Did you see the bills?
They weren't on there. I saw them.
Yeah, you saw them because you have the right to, because things were discussed in
All of them.
executive
So this-
session.
This is gonna take place with every single time now because I pull it out of consent agenda?
No.
I don't believe that.
What are you
And-
saying? If there's something that is discussed in executive session that legal counsel is directing us on,
Then he
it's
can
not
knock it out like he
knowledge.
left it out. We
Okay,
are OMA
why they not,
violation.
why were they not stricken?
We wanted to get the entire packet to the board, so they got it.
So would you
They got
prefer
it.
they
Not
be restricted
originally.
for you? So I guess where I'm gonna ask, just to put this nonsense to bed, but if there's anything that is confidential, can you give the board a copy of the full bill and then post everything else with anything that is confidential with a strike in it? Redacted. Okay.
And that's what we need to do in the future.
Okay.
But I also, like I said, I want you to ask the village manager why when I repeatedly ask for legal analysis, I've gotten them 20 days later, or in this case, 7 days later.
I'll be sure to get on top of that right
Okay,
after.
so it's appropriate that I'm receiving legal analysis that I've demanded repeatedly regarding 2 agenda items that you put on there. I'm sure everybody else on the board got it, but I didn't get it, Rose didn't get it, neither did Dan.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
You say 2 agenda items, I have no idea what you're
So,
referring to.
point of order, let me speak.
You're asking me a question.
Point of order, I do have a floor, I am the one with the questions about.
Continue on, please.
So, what I'm trying to explain publicly here is that we have an attorney who's charging us $18,000 who doesn't want any transparency and doesn't want me or anybody else from this side of the dais to ask what the bills are for. So I would also put your request that we get a more detailed bill. Are you done? I don't know. I'm not in your brain. Are you done?
Point of order.
Although I do live rent free in your head, but I will say.
Oh, look at your dad out there.
Oh, hi, Dad. How you doing back there, Dad? Yeah. So I will say that the attorney bills, as I asked and the village staff agreed to have them marked out so the public can see. Your statements of that you're sure the other board members have seen things, they see everything that you see. Maybe if you came to the village hall once in a while and asked these questions.
Well,
I'm speaking, I have the floor now, right? So maybe if you came into the village hall and had conversations that were worthy and stopped flipping over rocks to look for roly-polies, maybe we can have these conversations in the village hall instead of out here and embarrassing ourselves.
Can I answer?
No, I'm still talking.
Okay.
So here's what I will say. I do think that the village, when I saw the village attorney bills, I thought it was a lot. And then when I reviewed them, I went, I see, I understand. There's so many questions and emails that you send on a regular basis to the attorney. You attach the attorney to every single email asking ridiculous questions, costing the village a lot of money. Not to mention all your FOIA requests. So we want to talk about saving dollars on attorneys. Maybe we should just have some discussions within the village hall. So Trustee Reiners, do you have any comments? Trustee Fialko, do you have any comments?
Yes.
I'll document that.
I will start by saying this. In the past, we've had many ex-trustees come up to that podium and try and chastise a $5,000 bill. And when they did that sometimes included 2 attorneys, and then it also included the little court thing that we got here. Again, what is it called? Adjudication. I've never been there, and I'm glad I haven't. But between adjudication and we had legal legislative counsel and we had a regular lawyer, we didn't have bills this high. So that's just being fair to the amount that's on here. Now, if we break it down and we look at it, they did do a lot of work. And I've always reached out to whoever is the village manager and asked, did you review the bill? And do you approve of these things? Because we don't know everything that goes on every day when it comes to legal. As far as redacting stuff and taking and marking it confidential, I'm not so sure I agree with that because it's supposed to be basically a summary of what was talked about and it should say with who. Now, it's not giving away any secret information in that summary. So I would think that we shouldn't have, in the name of transparency, I don't think if it's put in a summary fashion, I don't know which one of these would be considered to be divulging any information that would be confidential. But I think that we could ask the law firm to put it in a summary where it doesn't divulge any secret or confidential information at that point and be transparent with the public as we always have up to this bill. This is the first bill I've ever seen where it's got that stamp on it. And I would like to sway away from doing that if we could have that conversation with legal. And I think there is a way around it besides redacting and maybe some other, or however we did it this time, which I don't think was right. But you know what? They do have a lot going on. The bills are there. They did the work. Unless Joe could tell me that no, this wasn't done yet, or no. Although I did see something in here, and I don't know if you saw it, where although I think it was answered today, where we're answering questions of the public, from the public,
I didn't see that.
as part of the bill. But then it was said that, oh, well, a trustee wanted that too. So I would refrain from putting the public in there if they're not involved. And if it came from a trustee, it should say the trustee's name. It's that simple.
Can you point out where that's at? Because I saw that comment earlier and I didn't see it.
It's so, did
you see it, Joe?
The email we got today, we got an email today.
No, I saw the question.
I think there was some general questions about the Hadley Road, and the direction that it went to, or some of the questions that went to the attorneys. And it was questions from trustees, the public, and staff.
So it wasn't the
just
public.
It wasn't one particular resident. It was.
So the wording was public questions, not a resident calling the attorney, and I got you.
I know, I was just wondering.
No, I'm not saying that I
Yeah.
want to hear you. I'm just saying that, can I go?
Yeah.
All right. The thing is though, Joe, and maybe for legal, Mike, if you could talk to your office, and especially if a trustee has asked it, there's no reason to put that the public, I mean, this is not, you guys don't work for the public legally, right? I mean, you work for the board, and so I think keeping that verbiage out of it would have helped in the situation. That would be my opinion. I don't think it needs to be in there, but as far as putting I don't know if the board wants that, who's the trustee, but I think more of a summary where we're not giving away any confidential information is the best path to being transparent. And if we can stay on that theme, let's try that. And without redacting, without not putting it out there to the public, I think we should try that first before we do. Yeah.
Maybe we can do like the first section of bills that are public knowledge, and then
I don't know, you guys do this, you can help out.
now we're going to tell the attorneys how to do their job. Yeah.
I think the items that potentially could get redacted are the things that have been discussed in executive session.
Right.
So it's been the direction of the board in the past to get these legal bills, give more detail to certain things, and I think it's been the firm's effort is to do that. I think what we can do is look at each bill item individually, and if it's something that is sensitive, we can redact it, and we'll just have to look at the bills closer when we get them.
May I ask Joe one last question?
Sure.
Joe, did you review the bill?
I did.
You don't see any problems with it?
There's a lot of things on that bill, and we got a lot going on right now.
Thank you.
Trustee Steinle.
No comment.
Trustee Mason.
I'll reserve.
Trustee McNaughton.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with Trustee Fialko. If we could provide a summary attributed to perhaps each trustee, whatever that may look like, removing, redacting the specifics, but what that amount of money that was spent, who that was attributed to, absolutely, I agree with him on that. First and foremost, I'm a resident. Secondly, I'm a board member. So you better believe I looked through these bills. And yes, they're high. They're higher than they normally are. Why is that? It's because we have a lot going on. Some of the things that we've talked about tonight, Acquire Hadl Road. People are always asking, where are you at with the wastewater treatment? I don't see any anomalies. I don't see, after looking through these line item by line item, the fees, the hourly rates are in line with local charges, industry standards. The only option I see to reduce the bills are for us to do less. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Steilen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? No. Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to L4. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-060, a request for zoning map amendment to rezone the subject property from E1 Single Family Estate Residential District to OS1 Open Space District for certain real property located at PIN 1605-1140000250000 in Glen, Illinois, commonly known as Welter Farm, HG 23198. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, second by Trustee Mason. Trustee Reinders?
This is basically the Welter Farm, which should have been open space from the beginning. I don't know what transpired back in 2001 when they rezoned it to E1, but I say we put it back to open space.
Trustee Mason?
I agree with trustee Reinders. It is open space. I am not opposed to seeing a farm on open space. I know from Ms. King's description on our last meeting that you can put parks and paths and things like this, a beautiful nature. So I'm all for this.
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I don't know if we ever know how it got zoned E1 from ag, but I do see this as a corrective measure that it should be zoned open space. We didn't have open space zoning back in 2001, so this is kind of a nice housekeeping issue.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, this issue, we sent it back just to have it reworded. I'm sure the attorney looked it over and it fits the need that we needed to have up to this point. The Planning Commission did vote on this 4-0 to adopt. What I wanted to say though is there's been a lot of people that have come up to this podium in the last year and claimed that it was already open space. It's never been open space. It was zoned as E1. So I just want to, before, it's always good to do your homework. And that's why I held back on saying anything till now. We have and understand exactly what, because a lot of what took place with this happened happened over 15 years ago. I think you may have been on the board, I don't know. But I know that this was very controversial. People were accused of things wrongly because we see it now. We wouldn't be voting to move this to open space if it already was. So I just caution everybody before we get the pitchforks or the shovels out next time, let's let it take its course. Let's understand what the law is. Let's understand exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish too. So that would be my 2 cents. Thank you.
Trustee Consolino?
Yeah, I agree with Trustee Fialko. I find it very odd that none of the extremely loud and vocal campaign supporters for some of the people on this board that claim that they were in the open space campaign are not here. And they weren't here the last time this was brought up. So, yeah, they spread a lot of false information and they accused a lot of people of false things. And I have no problem saying that out loud because it's true. So it's nice to see that we are actually cleaning up the mess by previous administrations to actually label this and zone it as open space. Overdue.
Trustee McNaughton? I have a comment. Our supporters aren't here because they trust us to do the right thing. They know they don't need to stand out here with their pitchforks, unlike some other supporters, because they know we're going to stick to our campaign promises and do what we said. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, Trustee Stylen, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. This property was purchased by voter referendum designated as open space per state statute that had nothing to do with our zoning. So it was considered open space by voter referendum. Thank you.
Any additional comments, Trustee Fialko?
Yes, just to add to that, that space where Pelican Harry's is at, that portion was sold. It was 40 acres of land. You have to be more than that. They're ready to take in, there is a house bill that's pending right now to change the acreage to 25 acres. So if this was open space to begin with, they would have never been able to sell the property in the front on Bell Road to Pelican Harry, that strip mall in Pelican Harry's, and that housing that was built by Homer Township was done. So if that was factual, that it was all open space back then, none of that would have happened. And so I agree with the rest of the trustees. We're doing the right thing now. We're correcting the problem. That's what we're supposed to do. Work together, correct the problem. It looks like we're going to have this done. But I think we do now have the facts and it's time to do it.
Trustee Mason?
I think Trustee Fialko just answered my question, but that was exactly it. If it was supposed to be open spaces and it was never designated, why did we sell off 40 acres? Why didn't we put it in senior housing or whatever the case may be? If it was open space, that's what it was intended to be. That something should have been done 20 years ago when the township came into play.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-062, a request for 1, a preliminary plat of subdivision, 2, a special use permit for a major amendment to the Menards Planned Unit Development PUD requested exceptions as listed in the attached Exhibit A. 3, special use permits for a car wash and automobile repair service and body shop use. B, a drive-through establishment, and C, an automobile service station, gas station, and 4, a site plan for certain real property generally located at the C2 local business district on lots 4 and 5 of the Menards PUD subdivision, Homer Line, Illinois. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason, trustee Reinders.
This was something that came before the Plan Commission, and I actually attended that meeting. I happened to be there in another issue that was before the Plan Commission. But I actually stayed and I listened to what they were proposing. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay to the very end because I had to go to the restaurant, but I reviewed all of the conditions. They did pass this 7-0 with conditions. And one of the conditions that really has me concerned is, number 1 is that they have to provide masonry veneer on the canopy column. So I want to make sure that that is something that they're going to adhere to. And then under one of the, number 4 of the Plan Commission recommendation was, the car wash special use is approved on the condition that the operator will take precautions necessary during the peak season to avoid hazards in the access road or blocking of the access road, including 1 or more of the following. Additional staff will be used to help direct and manage traffic flow through the site. A staff person will be placed at the internal intersection west of Bell Road to help direct traffic, electing the most efficient time for vacuuming, example, before or after a car wash or traffic exiting the wash will be prohibited from making a left turn. Exit the car wash via site via the right turn in, right turn out on the access traffic. I have a real problem with this. This is one of the things that is making me think that the traffic is going to be backed up from the access road onto 150, actually Bell Road. The access road is the road, and correct me if I'm wrong, the access road is the road that actually goes into Menards, right? And then from that road, there's another road, but there's also a road coming in off of Bell Road as well. There's actually only one way in, right?
There,
Yes.
so the access road that you have is the north access that takes you the right in, right out. Then you have the stoplight that takes the northbound left turn traffic in.
Right.
During busy seasons, during that period in February and March, where you have the snow melt, people get their car washes more often. Under the prior plan, there was a narrower strip between the car wash and the shopping center. So the car wash that was previously approved was approved based on the same traffic report and those same concerns. We do it at every car wash. We always keep an eye out to see where it's busy. We need to shift somebody to a different lane. Sometimes we tell them you can't vacuum first. In this case, since the last approval, we've widened what was a 5-foot strip to the depth of a parking space plus a few feet.
Okay.
So you have a much greater turn radius. It's a better plan for the car wash than before. Now, we carried those conditions over because they carried over in the traffic recommendations, and that's our business plan anyway. Whether or not there are conditions, that's what we do at every car wash. And the stacking, so that you understand when you pull into the car wash, there's 30-odd stacking spaces plus another 6 to the entry into the car wash. There used to be employee parking north of the right in, right out. That's now landscaped area. So there's literally no disturbance. You can fit plenty of vehicles into that area, and you have a greater turn radius out of the car wash when you're exiting than you had before. So it's a vastly improved plan compared to last fall.
But my concern is you're going to be leaving that determination up to an employee to make that determination whether or not they can, if the traffic backs up onto the access road. That's my concern.
It won't back up onto the access road as it's designed.
Okay, all right.
And that's what KLOA did their report for. Now, the veneer that you asked about is up to 12 feet. It's no problem whatsoever for us. We're absolutely going to do that.
Okay, and my last concern is that if you look at the area around the Menards PUD there, you have Menards, which is red brick. You also have across the street, there's a couple of retail centers there that are also red brick. Now you're going to throw in a gray and black building, which doesn't even, it's not cohesive with the rest of the design.
Well, that's pretty.
Stone, it's a feature building in Oak Brook Terrace where there's a lot of red brick. It's a feature building that we've got in Evanston on Oakton. The same tones, the same colors. It's a different color. This is a different color than the Home Depot that we have in Evanston. It's a different color than the Home Depot next to us in Oak Brook Terrace. There are reasons for that, and it has to do with brand identity. This isn't the same uniform shopping center all the way across. Each one has deviations. We're also on a tier. You have Menards, 20 feet lower you have us. You're going to see Menards above us, and the horse farm to the north of us is another 18 feet lower. So it's separate. It's designed in a way, it's not brick, it's stone that we have. The white is stone. So it should look good. It's looked good in every community that we've done this plan in.
It's just my personal preference, that's all. For the area to be more cohesive. That's all.
Trustee Mason?
First, I want to let you know, I apologize. First, I want to let you know that we're pro-business. At least several of us on this side are. Sounds like,
Excuse me?
well, no. And I spoke to Trustee Reinders today, and we went over some of this. And I actually come into the village and ask questions. But thank you, I didn't mean to allude to that, Trustee Reinders. But I know people sitting next to me are pro-business for sure. We appreciate that you've already taken the concerns of congestion into consideration. That was one of the things that Trustee Styler and myself talked about today. There's trustees that like to say, hey, if the Plan Commission pushed it, I would agree with that. The Plan Commission is saying, okay, it passes. So I would agree with that again. We've taken the time to alleviate the congestion. Employee control. I understand, because I understand the area, that to me, I don't think you will have a backup of traffic. I think it's going to flow in there, and you said you had 30-something odd plus stacking ability. So I think you're addressing the issues. One thing we did talk about today too was the ambiance of the area. Natural colors, which I had mentioned to Trustee Reinders. I'm all for it. I don't want a big green neon sign out there maybe, but the colors look beautiful. We appreciate it. We welcome you. I'm pretty sure you're going to meet all the applicable building codes and apply for all the permits, of course. I'm pretty sure you're going to meet the engineering codes. I know you're asking for a lot of variances, but the ones that I've read through, I don't see an issue with. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could add one thing on the traffic, it's not just us. It's a team. Every owner over at Menards has a vested interest in that access. So Menards is supportive of the project. They've had this traffic report analysis for 18 months now, basically, and Menards is extraordinarily comfortable with it. They would like to see that area developed, and they're strongly in favor of it, obviously, but there are covenants that prevent us from doing anything. If any owner saw us obstructing that access road, they'd have a cause of action, attorney's fees, and certainly we don't want to deal with the violation of the ordinance. And we're happy to have the conditions in the ordinance, but that's why they're there. I mean, we're confident in our plan on that front.
Trustee McNaughton?
Yes, thank you. Beautiful building. Trustee Mason said neutral colors. Couldn't agree more with that. I understand that there has been significant investment today. And on that note, you have many towns, many villages where you could have chosen for your feasibility study to invest. And I would like to thank you, as the chair of the Economic Development Committee, for you in coming to Home and Glen, deciding to invest your hard-earned dollars in Home and Glen. I look forward to you guys breaking ground. I also look forward to visiting you as a customer in the future. And Mark, to you, you've been nothing short of excellent. You've attended numerous meetings. You've been very helpful with the Q&A. You attended the Economic Development meeting recently. You're very helpful there as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Castellino?
Mayor, can you please ask both Joe and Melissa what their opinions are about traffic? Melissa and Joe, opinion?
Specific, in general, or specifically with regard to this, number 4?
Where Rose is concerned.
Okay, so 2 things I can point out. I can point out that the traffic is coming in off of Bell. If you look at the screen, if you're coming in off of Bell into the right in, right out, you have an unobstructed entry into the car wash lane. And I think that's what Mr. Daniel was saying, that you'll come in, if you were going to be a car wash user, you would come in and turn right, and you would go into the car wash lane, which is probably going to be a significant amount of traffic, especially during the busy season. And there's significant stacking. I mean, there's 3 lanes full of stacking to enter the car wash facility. Secondarily, we do ask, obviously, for a traffic study to be completed when we have projects like this. And this language, as number 4, is specifically taken out of that traffic memo. It was a recommendation from KLOA. That's their recommendation on handling this property. We obviously, as staff, this has been looked at by our consulting engineer and our village engineer as well, in reviewing that traffic study. And we, even in 21-22, this exact same language came with the car wash previously, and was also recommended under our village engineering review. Yeah. So I think that this is the piece that we would want to have in here, because this is coming specifically from that traffic study, from those traffic engineers and their recommendation on how to handle this site.
Does that answer your question? Trustee Fialko?
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you, Trustee Bialko.
You know what, we are 100% for business here. We have been since I've been here. And the trustee's name that got mentioned owns a business. We always support businesses. Sometimes there are questions about facades, the color, the texture, and things that, we sometimes will amend to make it fit, even though other things have taken place before the board meeting. So have no fear there that this board, all of us support businesses. And I'm glad, thank you for investing the millions of dollars I'm sure it's going to cost to build that and investing. I mirror the comments of Trustee McNaughton by investing in Home Glen. You do have many choices, could have gone in many places, but at the same time, that is keep in mind it's an introduction to our village from the north when you're coming south on Bell Road. Yeah. So the concern is, and there's been other concerns with other businesses that are right there. I'm not going to name them, but we have asked similar questions. So have no fear there. We support businesses, no doubt. So the Planning Commission did vote 7-0 on this, and I'm all in favor. And thank you once again for investing in Home Glen. And one more last question for you, though. When you do the shovel in the ground?
I'm sorry?
When you do the shovel in the ground?
Trustee Steichen?
Yes, thank you. To echo Trustee Reinders, I was a little bit taken by the color of the brick. But I think with the natural colors, it'll probably just blend into the scenery when you're coming from the north into the village. This is going to be the first businesses that drivers from the north are going to see when they enter the village. And I would like to make one request, and you said to provide masonry veneer on the canopy count to the height of 12 feet. I'd like to request that it just goes all the way up to the top of the canopy.
That may become a code and wind bearing issue at that point.
We can do it.
I mean, accomplish it. I think making the best effort to do that.
It's our entryway now. And, you know, Arby's did a great job of landscaping in front of their sign. And now, this is what people are going to see. They're going to see this gas station. If we could just improve that.
Motion.
You said yes. Okay. And then just also to mention that what's before us is we're voting for this plan of buildings. This is not a liquor license approval or a gaming approval. There's a moratorium on that, and I have reservations on any additional gaming in the village.
So Trustee Simon, were you recommending a motion to amend?
If it takes a motion.
It takes a motion to amend, and then I will need a second.
All right.
I will second.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? So we're amending it to...
Can we re-say it though, so everybody...
I'm getting there. We are making a motion to amend the motion to also include, you said the brick, but say it in
Number
words.
12 on the PUD exceptions to have the masonry veneer to the full height of the canopy.
On all pillars. Because I've had it straight later answer for it.
How many feet is that, so we can be specific, because it says to the height of 12 feet, so how many?
I think for the height of the supports for the canopy is fine. It could vary, it's going to be below a certain height, but it may be 6 inches below, whatever it is, it'll be to the height before you get to the base of the ceiling of the canopy.
Because the canopy moves because of flexibility.
Can I ask?
So how do we write that in the motion?
Just
Highest feasibly possible due to, engineering constraints, yeah.
You got that, Candace? Okay. All right.
Jay has it. It's to include masonry, I can't read your writing, sorry. Oh, to include masonry facade all the way to the top height of canopy supports.
Well, it may be to engineering,
That's what I
it may
wrote
be to engineering constraints.
Okay, I'm gonna call it
because
order
it
right
did
now.
mention a wind issue.
The attorney can chime in on how it should read, how about that?
There you go. But it should be to engineering constraints because they did mention a wind issue. So you may go up and get almost to the top and be 8 inches from the top.
Masonry veneer to the maximum height possible under the ceiling of the canopy would be...
Under the ceiling of the canopy.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, since there's no more discussion on the amendment to the motion, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on the amendment?
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee McNaught.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're going to vote on the,
Motion to the initial.
okay. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll on the motion as amended?
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee McNaught.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Motion carries. And I didn't get to say my comment, but I like the brick.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Mayor, can I make one comment? Staff did a really good job on this one. I will note that having Brett on board was more efficient, it was more friendly in a lot of respects when it came to the engineering review. It wasn't easier on us by any stretch, and Melissa kept to her landscaping. I didn't interrupt anybody on the community north entrance. You're frankly going to see a forest as you approach from the north, because Melissa likes the landscaping and really had us ramp it up. So,
We have some good staff.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Jamie, thank you.
Okay, number 8. Consider for approval a motion authorizing the mayor to sign a letter amending the approved agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and Lakota Group for professional land planner services for visioning process and concept development of a new town center. There is no change in the approved budget for the agreement. Is there a motion?
Second.
Reinders, Mason. Trustee Reinders?
Basically what this is we're just amending the contract to include, in the beginning, we had 8 sites that we were looking at for the town center. And after we held the workshop and the community was involved, we basically came to the consensus that they really only wanted us to look at one parcel of land. Everybody was in favor of one parcel of land. In our contract, I think it stated that they were supposed to give us a rendering for like the 3 parcels of land. So basically, we're not being charged anything, it's not changing monetarily. Basically, all we're saying is that we are going to be concentrating on 1 parcel of land.
Trustee Mason?
Trustee Reiner beat me to the punch, but that's exactly the way I read it. 8 sites versus 1, no additional cost. Let's move forward.
Trustee Steinman?
No comment.
Trustee Fielko? Trustee McNaughton?
It was unanimous and happy to be moving forwards on this.
Trustee Consolino?
It would be nice to move forward something positive.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Absolutely, aye.
Trustee Mason, or sorry, I just repeated this.
I'll answer again.
Trustee McNaughton?
Proudly, yes.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Styler?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9, consider for approval of contract for services from Grant Staff, Inc., who will write grants on behalf of the Village of Homer Glen. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I think we should give it to Trustee Reinders.
Yeah, serious.
You still
I'll withdraw. Withdraw?
I withdraw.
All right.
So moved.
Trustee Reinders?
I'll second.
Oh. We'll give it to Fielko.
There you go.
All right, is there any discussion? Trustee Reinders?
The only thing I have to say is that I've actually been tapped into Tammy quite a few times already to Grant staff for asking questions, and she's been very knowledgeable, and I am really looking forward to, as well as I'm sure our staff is, looking forward to working with them to accomplish some of our goals to really bring some projects forward for the village.
I agree. Trustee Fielko?
I think this is a great step in the right direction with being very responsible, fiscally responsible with our money, because in the long run, this is going to bring in a lot more money for the village and for the small amount invested. And I couldn't be happier that we're getting somebody that does this for a job, as a job, to make sure we dot all our I's, cross all our T's. And I was very impressed with the workshop that we had that took place with that. So I'm looking forward to working with them. Thank you.
Trustee Consolino?
Nothing to say?
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I just have one question. Who is she going to be working with to get all of the information and everything needed for the grants?
That's it. And how do you establish the project?
Probably directly with me.
Okay, just in case I have anything. No, I'm all for it. It's a wonderful idea.
We'll see how the projects come in, and we'll be in communication with her as far as evaluating if there's grants available.
So if there's like if Trustee Reinders and her park committee wanted to look into grants for parks, or Trustee Fielko wanted to look for grants for his fest, or Trustee Simon, or whoever, they would funnel through you and you would talk to her.
I would recommend it, yeah.
Okay.
You know,
That work?
as the projects come in, as the projects come in.
Well, Trustee McNaughton?
Trustee Reinders, thank you for this initiative. After doing extensive research on grant staff, I believe that the ROI that we stand to achieve from this will be significant, especially in terms of any initial outlay of costs that we may have to receive those grants. So fully supported. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's nice to have somebody who's actually going to be contracted to do this, so we don't have to actually pay someone a percentage to find a grant. That's great. Madam Clerk? Oh, did I skip you?
You did.
You, sir.
So I tend to make a habit of skipping somebody. Every meeting.
I would just like to add that I'm confident in our village manager to be able to disseminate which department it will end up going to, because I'm sure, as you alluded to, if it's parks, then that's maybe where that grant money goes. If it's or research goes to, I agree with Trustee McNaughton on the return on investment. I'm sure we're going to get it. I've seen other people, and I know of other people that take a percentage, and it's not actually their job. It's nice to know that we're getting 100, and we know the number, and somebody's not chipping off the top. So I think this is a perfect scenario for us to bring in somebody that can help alleviate some of the tax woes that everybody keeps talking about. Thank you.
Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, there's two different options here for consideration. A 10-hour work week at a rate of $135 just get some direction on which option.
10-hour work weeks with 3-month downstroke at the rate of 135. All right, guys, make a decision. Rose, which one do you want to?
You know what, I think what we should do is basically wait until we have a project and then make the decision. Because there's going to be projects coming from all of the departments within the village, because that's basically how she works. Like our projects would go to Joe. We don't know, she can tell us ahead of time what she thinks the hours are. And basically how it works is we buy a block of hours, and you were right. We cannot take a percentage off the grant. It's illegal. So I think we should really wait until we actually start.
Couldn't Hadley Road be part of this right out of the box?
Basically, I will tell you what she told me, because those are one of the things that I did tap into her for, was to see if there was any money for something, even something of historical.
Private.
So she said that there were the private corporation, she said, but she said they will not give you the kind of money that we're looking for. She said you might get 100,000 from one foundation, maybe 100,000 from another. But she said, so just so you know, don't go into it thinking that you're going to come up with $5 million or $6 million off the bat yet. So.
We can chip away.
Trustee Reinders, I apologize, I called you Rose. Trustee Reinders. Did I miss anybody, or did I even? Trustee Simon.
Are we supposed to make a decision today on which of these agreements that we want?
Yeah, I believe we're supposed to choose one of the two options.
It's your, Rose?
Trustee Reinders.
Sorry. Somebody told me to we had a focus, an idea, a project, so I should propose this to Mr. Joyner. Okay. Either way, my perception was that we were going to pick a contract and sit tight on those hours. We retain her, she's on board, and then there's a project that she'll tell something that she needs to work on. But whatever you guys want to do.
Legal? Is that how this works? I don't really know what the question is.
I think basically what it is, and again, I think it's going to be project driven, because whether it's going to take 10 hours to do one project, or it's going to take, it's going to take 100 hours to do a project. So
you're saying per project?
Per project, yeah.
So we just leave it blanket and just have her tell us which one it takes?
I
think we could have those conversations with Tamara and get a better handle on
I
what
think
projects
so,
we
yeah.
might
I
have
really do,
down the
yeah.
pipe and what the rate would be then, which she estimates the kind of hours.
Because we have to buy a block of time, and she will tell us. She said basically what's going to happen is the first project is going to be the one that's going to take the most work, only because she has to gather all of our information from the village. She has to put that in her system, and then she said, once she gets that in her system, then it'll be so much easier for her to be able to just tap right into that, and then it's not going to be as long to further a project versus having every single time to input information.
Trustee Stylish, did you have something?
Well, you're paying a different rate.
Right,
So,
you're paying different rates, right.
It's just a matter of which way do we want to go to commit to paying a lower rate and going with more hours, or paying a higher rate and just trying it at first with less hours. And I'm really ready to go out on a limb and say go with the lower rate for the more hours.
The more hours.
Yeah,
I think for our first attempt, and if we feel, we can always come back and amend it.
If she's willing to offer a discount, that discount equates to $2,500.
Right.
Right? It's $16,200 at 10 hours per week. That's 120 hours, that's 12 weeks.
Right.
That's a great start, and we're saving $2,400. If she's willing to offer the discount, take it.
So she's probably going to need a lot of time to gather our information.
Well, that's it. She said she's gonna need the time up front to be able to input all of our information, and then, to actually look at what each one of the different departments, what their projects are.
And she's going to be doing that regardless.
Right,
Might as well take the 135.
right, as well.
I'm going to ask council to chime in here for a minute.
Yeah, just briefly, when you're dealing, I'm sorry, when we're utilizing consultancy agreements, which is probably what this would fall under in the ambit of contracts that we review. When you're talking about an hourly rate, you're very likely going to want to have a minimum amount of billable for a specific task. For instance, you don't want to have a telephone call costing you 1 hour and burning an hour. And for looking at this grant contract, it is not particular with what their billing increment is. Is it 1 hour every time they pick up the phone with you? Is it tenths of an hour increments? I can share with you that in professional consultancy areas, especially attorney works, typically we bill in the 0.1 or the 0.3, I do 0.1 or 0.25 hour increments, and that's pretty standard. I'm not sure what the consultancy minimum would be here, but it's something that I would explore, or at least maybe direct legal to work with her, or someone from the village to work with her to try to get that point out.
So can we make a motion to table until we have that answer? Can I make a superseding motion to table this until we have that answer, whether it be Rose or yourself?
Trustee Reiner?
I'm sorry, Trustee Reiner.
No.
I'm Trustee Reiner. I have a question. You stated it's illegal for one person to be appointed and to claim a percentage of a grant. Is that correct?
Right.
Trustee Consolino, were you appointed at a township meeting to collect 1% of every grant?
I may call a point of order on that because it's not part of our time.
I can ask, excuse me, I'm not sure what point of order is on the agenda. I'm asking for her reference and her professionalism in this matter.
That is out of our.
Okay, well, if she doesn't have any professionalism in it, then, okay.
I know you guys want to argue, but that's not part of our. I think legal had something.
No, just from a parliamentarian standpoint, the privilege, the point of order which Mr. Fialco, Trustee Fialco is raising, does take priority, has to be heard first, and then the rest of the chair can then make her ruling.
There's a third part to that, if I'm not wrong, too. Whatever, and this isn't for this issue, but also the chair can make a ruling, but it's on the chair. And the thing is, the board can then decide. Just because you say what you want it to be doesn't mean it can't go to the board for a correct. But I don't.
I have the right to respond to your order.
Absolutely.
So there we go. All right. So you're making a motion to table this. Trustee Reiner said no. Well,
She
can
said
she?
no.
She said no.
I heard.
This is where the question. This is the famous question. So a couple meetings. This is for you, attorney.
Sure.
There was a couple of meetings where a trustee had tried to supersede a motion, and they were denied. Is that correct? They were denied.
sometimes it was slip by.
It depends.
Okay, point of order. I'm asking the attorney a question. There's a couple of meetings where a superseding motion was denied, or it was granted, or the attorney at the time said, Trustee Reiner's had to retract hers or amend her motion, not you specifically, but the trustee who made the motion had to amend their motion. Which way is it right now? Trustee Reiner's made the motion. I believe Trustee, I don't even know where we're at. Trustee Mason made the second. Can he make a motion to table right now? I'm asking the attorney.
There was a motion that was made to approve this consultancy agreement, is that what the
Yes.
motion
Yes.
was? And there's a second. I don't believe that the motion to table would be considered a superseding motion because it would completely stop the present motion. Whereas when you have a motion to amend, that simply builds onto the existing motion, and that's when that would take priority precedence over the current motion.
So Trustee Reiner's, not that she chooses, but in a case like this, Trustee Reiner's could say.
She can yield back. They can yield back, and then it can go back for a motion to table. She can withdraw her initial motion, and the second would fall, and then you can do a motion to table this. But right now, while Trustee has the floor, it's within her purview.
Okay, but Trustee Mason made the second, so then we'd have to vote, and if it fails, then a motion, it just fails, right?
There's a second on the motion, then it goes to debate on that particular issue. And then before debate though, I'm saying trustee can voluntarily withdraw her present motion if you choose to do so.
And if she chooses not to, nothing.
Then it goes to debate. There's a second, and then it will go to debate.
So trustee Mason can say, I motion to table, then there is a second. Can
I already seconded the original motion. I understand exactly what you're saying. Trustee Reinders has the floor. She said no at this point. And the reason that it's happened both ways before is because people are over talking our legal. Thank you.
Okay, so from what I understand, just for my own clarity, trustee Reinders made the first, Mason made the second. There cannot be a motion by somebody else to table.
Correct.
Okay.
There can be a motion to amend, but not a motion to table.
Trustee Reinders, since you made the motion, would you like to amend, withdraw, do a dance? I don't know.
No, I vote.
Okay.
Goes to
If
be.
we already did debate.
We did? Okay.
You already did debate.
Yeah.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Stylist.
Okay, wait, I'm sorry. We have two contracts in front of us.
Right.
The attorney said that it needs to have increments added to it, billing increments.
Right.
So we are voting on which contract?
We are voting on the 135 per hour.
Okay. And then the attorney can work out the increments.
Yes.
And-
I'm sorry.
No, attorney, please answer. Help.
I don't see that giving me the purview, ma'am, in here to amend the contract or to work with her to finalize the terms of this.
Okay, so I would have to amend my motion
Yes.
to include attorney review
Yes.
of these
Yes.
contractual hours and price.
To work out increments
To work out
And I would second that. That's all I was looking for.
Madam Clerk? Yeah, we're going to vote.
Motion is amended.
Motion is amended.
Correct. Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Styler.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
A motion to accept the way.
Yes, no, it would be roll on the motion to accept. This motion is amended.
Yep, attorney, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Absolutely.
Trustee
Aye.
McNaughton.
Yes.
Trustee Fialko. Trustee Consolino. Aye. Trustee Styler.
Aye.
Motion carries. I think we went through everything, right? Even though we got shit.
No, we're on L11.
Oh.
I love this one. You know, this is my favorite one in here.
Consider for approval the Village of Homer Glen's trick-or-treating hours for Halloween 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Consolino, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, trustee Consolino, any comments? Nope. Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Well, yes.
Oh, I take that back.
No, you can't.
We'll come back to you in 1 second. Trustee Fialko?
This comes up annually when it's trick or treat time, and I just want to put this out there. This board a couple of years ago had legal get involved with people knocking on your doors up to 9 o'clock at night, selling packages to kill spiders, right? And they kept it's called freedom of speech at that point. That's the way it was addressed to us. Freedom of speech, they can knock on the doors till 9 o'clock, otherwise we can get sued and everything else. So here we come again. We have the child dressed up as a spider, and we want to tell that person that they can't trick or treat till the same time that we allow a company to knock on your door. And this is where I struggle with this when it comes to freedom of speech. And when we're using it in one lane, but we're not using it in the other. And I know sometimes it pertains to the safety of the children. Yes, it does. But there are older kids that go out there. There are some adults that sometimes dress up at parties and go out there too. So I'm all for safety. I don't want it to be, a misconception that I'm not for the safety of the kids. But there are no age limits on here either. So With that said, I mean, I don't know if this needs to be amended for adults, but we can't, to me, we can't be telling one person or one group or a business that yes, you can knock on the door till 9 o'clock at night, but then comes trick or treat time, and it's a citizen, a resident, and now we're going to tell them they can't knock on the door till 9 o'clock either. So I'm all for safety, I'm all for doing things to protect people and do the right thing, but I also, have a concern with freedom of speech when we use it for one group one way and for another group another. So that would be my comment.
Trustee Mason?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke to Trustee Fielko today, and he's got a great analogy, and it's actually pretty funny. You can't have one man knocking on the door as a spider, the next one showing up with a bag in his hand showing up as a spider. But I'm all for First Amendment and protecting that. I'm also for the safety, but I got an even better one. What about inclement weather? And you're taking your grandkids out, and it doesn't stop raining until 6:30. Now you're going to break this little kid's heart if he can't continue, but he's got a half hour, so he's got to run. And our houses are not close together. So I'm in agreement. If there's inclement weather, why shouldn't we go to 9?
Trustee McNaughton?
No.
Trustee Steinman?
Well, I think the spirit of this was to give some guidance to the trick-or-treaters and the people that are handing out candy of when to expect trick-or-treaters. Nobody ever has to open their door to anyone that's knocking on their door. So if it's at 8 o'clock, they don't have to open the door. But it is kind of nice to have, maybe the wording approving is kind of misleading. These are just suggested hours that we recommend that trick-or-treaters trick-or-treat between 2 and 7:30 so that people know that they don't have to be standing by the door watching out the window looking for trick-or-treaters.
Could you make that motion to amendment to include that word? Recommended.
Trustee Fielko?
I'm sorry, my mind is.
You should run for mayor. I want to run the meetings, you should run for mayor.
I don't want to beat you.
Trustee, please. Trustee Stein.
Well, should the person who made the
Right,
motion-
so I do have one comment to say. I am for the safety. My house was robbed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon one day when I came home. My house was robbed. So I mean, robberies happen at all times of the day.
Burglarized.
Burglarized, sorry about that, yes, burglarized. Were you there? I don't know. But yes, so I do understand these hours. I mean, I agree with Trustee Steinman, put it to 7:30. I agree with Trustee Mason. If it's raining, if it's snowing, it snowed on Halloween before. You want to give your kids some times, but I also agree that we want to make sure that someone's at the door handing out the candy. From where it sits right now, it says to approve the village's past trick-or-treat hours from 2 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. There was some discussion about 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Is that the motion we're sticking with, is 2 to 7:30? And if we're going to change the motion, where it said the suggested hours, Trustee Consolino made the motion, Trustee Reiner seconded. Trustee Consolino, would you like to change anything to your motion?
I'm okay with amending for recommended.
From the word approved to recommended, okay? Trustee Reinders?
I'm good with it.
Trustee Fielko?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Mason?
I'm fine with it. I just worry about the parents that work until 5, 6 p.m. That's all.
Trustee Steinman?
I'd rather have anyone come to my door after 6:30, quite honestly.
So it's a paper type.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, yes, on the amendment to say recommend instead of approve.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Steinman?
Aye.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll on the amended motion?
Yeah. Trustee Steinman?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, Trustee Reinders?
I would just wanted to say, while we're talking about trick or trick-or-treating. I just want to mention once again, trunk or treat is Saturday, October 21st from 3 to 5 p.m. We are still looking for people to decorate their trunks. We get a lot of kids out there. And so, I mean, the more people that participate, the better off we'll be. Last year, we had kind of a really crappy turnout. So, yeah, it was bad last year. So I'm just hoping that we can get more residents to volunteer, come in, decorate your trunks. I have to tell you, I've done it twice. It's a great afternoon. I love it, and I'm so excited to let the kids see my costume for this year.
Is there a rain date? No, it is what it is, right? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to old business, but before we begin old business, I know there's some hostility in this room. I know there's some conversations that need to be had amongst each other. I ask that we just keep it professional. I also suggest that maybe a phone call can be made. Go have a beer or soda or whatever and have discussions instead of bringing it here. We've got a lot of things to discuss that are serious matters that we need to accomplish. I think if there's going to be a tit for tat or he said, she said, or whatever it is, I would respectfully request or ask that if there's a difference of opinion or anything in that nature, that a phone call be had prior to the meeting. That's my comments. Is there any other old business? Trustee Reiners.
Okay, so one thing I would like to bring to the attention of the board is I got several calls this weekend about people freaking out that there were trees that were cut down in the park.
Yeah.
So, of course, I reacted, I freaked out. I didn't realize that Homer Tree had already cut the trees by the soccer field and just left them laying there. So I wasn't sure whether or not those were the transplants or if those were trees that were being moved. So, of course, I immediately sent the pictures off to Jennifer Vittori. Another issue that came up this weekend was we had the first tree that was going to be a memorial tree put in the football fields. So Melissa, Sue, myself, we were out there and there was some problem with it. The three of us assessed it and looked at the best possible place for the tree. We were met with some resistance, and we're still being met with some resistance on the location of the tree. But after standing out there for almost an hour that we were out there, we could see that the area where the tree was originally designated for was not going to work because the kids were practicing, and they have that thing that they push, I don't know what to call it, sled. It was in that area as well. So hopefully we have decided, the three of us have decided where the tree was going to go. But I think one of the things that we need to do moving forward is we need to really look at this program and we need to set some guidelines. Because the person that was doing this tree, was dedicating this tree for her mother, was very upset. And when I found out who the woman was, then I got upset because I know personally that her and her husband have put a lot into the stallions and the teams, and I could see where she would be upset. But moving forward, I only ask that any one of our committees that deals with this is that we actually revisit this and we do some guidelines because it was a big problem. There had to be 300 kids out there, and we were in the middle trying to resolve where are we going to put this tree?
I do have a question. Why did Homer Tree just cut those poor little trees that look like this? Couldn't they just scoop them up and move them?
You were dead.
Oh. All right, well, that answers that. All right, any other old business? Yes. Trustee Consolino?
I have two things. And going back over the resolution that we just voted on, you guys do realize it doesn't say advisory anywhere on this. Not on the agenda, not on the resolution.
Are you talking about the referendum question?
No, the dissolution of the township.
L12. That's the referendum question. L12. Well, I don't think it needs to state that it's an advisory
I
meeting?
think that it would, and this is why I want to ask legal, because this is very important. If it is not
No.
stating that it's advisory.
We do not believe that this, this resolution that you have that is passed is operative or triggers any of the procedural mechanisms available to folks pursuant to Illinois law to go about dissolving a township.
Okay,
This is
as long as-
simply, if I can just, I just want to clarify for you. This is simply informative so that the Board of Trustees can see what the returns are back from that, and then discuss deliberatively if this is in the best interest of the village to take whatever means and appropriate action moving forward. That could be lobbying efforts, that could be a whole myriad of other issues or other efforts that you can all vote on to do at that point.
Okay, you're going on record saying that, so I'm comfortable with that. I do need to also address rebuttal on here, because I keep being accused of not coming into the village to discuss this. So, full disclosure, I have an EEOC complaint against the village of Homer Glen, and because of continued harassment and retaliation, as a way to protect both myself and the village from further litigation, I document everything. I document all my conversations with the mayor, the attorney, the trustees, the village manager. So this way doesn't get anything misrepresented or miscommunicated. So because of pending litigation, this is how it's going to be, unfortunately. So that's all I have to say on that.
Any other old business? Trustee Simon?
Yeah, I really liked the idea of ending this meeting talking about trick or treating and on a fun note, but this does, I guess, qualify for old business. We talked about having a workshop on establishing guidelines for the minutes, and Trustee Consolino gave a really long report that will be in the minutes. And my concern is the minutes serve, our minutes as well as our packets serve as a great public record and resource for future topics that appear to the village. There's been, like, just even the E1 and E2 for open space, trying to go back and look and see how this happened. You know, 10 years from now, somebody's going to go back and look at and read our minutes and read our, or look at our packets to see how we came up with something. And when I hear these reports, sometimes they're presented as facts. So before I approve the minutes for Trustee Consolino's report, I would like to have a complete fact check done on all the things that she said in her report, because I do think that some things were misrepresented. Thank you.
Trustee Mason?
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat. Yes, I want to also promote a few things. Again, you know, I've heard the phrase paper tigers a couple times tonight. You know, L12. What is the harm in seeing what the people want? That's why I ran. It's one of the reasons. I'm always hearing by Trustee Consolino, everything's a conspiracy, everything's behind their back. This is a complete cluster. This is a perfect example of what I talked about earlier, about the HTRO, who she is a member of. And the township, it's like collusion. I mean, she sits here on our board of the village, and the best interest is supposed to be for the village, but I don't see that. You know, we talk about facts, somebody threw that out there earlier tonight. I won't mention the trustee's name about money, but you know what? We can start saving the taxpayers some more money just by the elected officials of the township alone. Their salaries, I'll take that. We'll put that into the village, and we'll put that to use. One more thing that was brought up, and I guess this was Brett Portfolio, by his own admission, points out that he has less than 20 miles. He has 19.9 miles. Regardless, if we say it's 18 or 19, it's under 20, and I'm pretty sure that was written in 2021, that once that happens, once it becomes less than 20, that becomes a part-time position and loses certain benefits. And I'd like to check into that. Thank you.
Trustee McNaughton?
No, ma'am.
I have one more question, I'm sorry.
Trustee Consolino?
Yes, unfortunately, we voted on the collector's pay in April of 2022. And the code is not reflecting that. So I would like to remedy that as quickly as possible. I don't know why that slipped through the cracks.
I'll tag onto that too. So the collector's pay is not being paid out.
No.
But just for clarification.
No.
There's no confusion. But the clerk is still doing some of the duties of the collector. So I had brought that up maybe 2 months ago? Maybe a month ago, something like that. So we do need to cut the ties of that as well, just for future. Okay, we get on old business. New business? Oh, trustee Fialko.
I was going to hold up, but hey, something did come up. As far as the minutes for the meeting, in Robert's Rules 48, 1 through 16, state the minutes should contain mainly a record of what was done at the meeting, not what's verbatim what was said by the members. Minutes are not transcripts of meetings, rather a document that contains the record of actions taken by the body, organized by the meeting's order of business. So when you want it all done verbatim, technically, that is not your job as the clerk. They have to do all that. So you might want to write that down and review it for yourself as the clerk. It's 48, 1-16. And I think that may help in our process with the misunderstanding we have at this point. Thank you.
And I to piggyback off of that too, doesn't the clerk have the right to type the minutes is how she...
No.
She doesn't... I wasn't asking you the question, trustee Fialko.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just think that, I mean, when I took the clerk's course, it was told to me, and I have a binder in the office, which I believe I gave it to you. It says that they don't have to be verbatim. You just put a little summary on the bottom of each thing. The clerk was actually, when I told her this, she had stated, I want to be thorough, I want to get everything that's said, and I warned her. I said, you're going to get picked apart because this sentence is not in. Some people are going to say this is how you were dictating it this way and whatnot. I'll make the same suggestion I made in the last few meetings. Short and simple.
They have, I mean, there's 3 sets of minutes that Gina is reviewing from, but these meetings are ridiculously long, and when I first started.
Put your mic on. For your own purpose.
So when I first started doing the minutes, I was probably putting way too much in there because there was so much being said, so much going on. Now they're being very summarized. I'm putting the minute marks, comments, and things are being made, and we're just leaving it at that.
I think you're doing a great job. My question is for the attorney. Does the clerk have to put verbatim what a trustee says in their report?
No.
So the trustee or the clerk can just summarize. Can a trustee demand that their report is put in?
No. I mean, if there's a specific statement that the trustee is seeking leave to enter as part of the record that's been disseminated to everyone in advance, that potentially could be moved to be brought into being offered for purposes of her statement. But as far as anything that generally that's being said, that's a summary, or you can do it as a summary.
What if
Trustee Constantino in advance, so they have to submit the reports in advance if they want it verbatim.
Correct.
Okay, trustee Fialko.
I just want to make sure that there's no confusion because we have our planning commission that swears people in. Now, under those guidelines, if minutes are taken, I would say if you're sworn in, it should be verbatim.
For purposes of testimonial evidence, when committees and the trustees are going to be using it, or potentially legal action can be using that sworn testimony to determine the appropriateness or lack thereof of the action of the deliberative body, that has to be taken verbatim. For instance, for administrative hearings, that all has to be taken verbatim by way of either court report or by way of online reports.
Trustee Constantino.
So how far in advance would it have to be submitted?
I mean, that's within the discretion of the board, to determine what your rules, your internal operating rules are. Certainly it would be a reasonable notice, but that's dependent upon what you all decide is reasonable.
So we should work on that when we decide how we want to do it.
I think it should be with the board packet. Trustee Reinders, did you have anything? Trustee McNaughton?
Yes, thank you. Within the last, 2 months, we've had numerous rounds of meetings that have not been approved and that were asked by Trustee Consolino to be rewritten, relooked at, because they were not accurate, they were not specific, they were not verbatim. Excuse me if I'm confused, which way are we going? You can't have it both ways. A month ago, they're not specific enough, you're not going to approve them. Now you're saying they don't need to be specific. I'm confused. Thank you.
Trustee Mason? Trustee Stein?
Maybe just one question, I'm sorry. So when something is presented in a meeting and it's presented like it's a fact and it's not, when do we rebut that?
You would ask the chair for an opportunity to respond.
Okay. And, all right, so then it's done during the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You can also add the words alleged. Okay. Workshop, none. Executive session, none. Who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
If not, Mason, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night.